Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast, and I apologize for the tardiness. Bear with me while I take my medications. Um, as you might be able to tell, I've rearranged the studio. My original desk, since when we first started all this, is back, and I have yet to get everything arranged correctly. And as you can see, everything is in disarray behind it here. So I've got a couple of articles for you, and I did go through some of the stuff on the phone from last week, but not all of it. In fact, some of it I ended up redoing it. The microphone's in the shot. That's fine. Let's see. Let's email a couple people. Hey, Anders is here. Greetings. Let's see. The chat is. Come on, there it is. There we go. Good evening, Anders. And let me check the audio on YouTube. Yep, it's good. All right, real quick with this email thing, and then we'll get started. It's going to be to Patrick, Mark, Georgia, and B. Is what? It's the 9th of July. Wow, time is flying. And there we go. So we had several major holidays in North America here. So Guy Obsesses About Plugs segment will be considerably shorter than it has been in the last, 6 weeks now? But let's get started with that, and then we'll go on to some of the other news that has occurred. But before I forget, let me actually consume these pills. All right, so let me find tab, because while I was plugging the microphone back in, the phone fell on the keyboard and didn't tab through all of my tabs. All right, so first up we got some videos. Cool, but I said we're gonna talk about plugs, and that we will. All right, so we're gonna share this tab on screen. All right, at least the computer's participating today. Share. And then we're gonna get my view straight. There we go. So the sole bit of news that I was able to find about the NACS this week is Mercedes-Benz is now joining. Same deal as everybody else. 2024, you get adapters. 2025, you get the native port on the cars. And they didn't just do it for the plug. They did the agreement with Tesla, so they get the superchargers, which is rather important. However, what is unique about this is that, well, not that unique because there's Rivian. Rivian's doing this too. Uh, Mercedes is going to continue to work on their own fast charging network as well. I guess not really continue. They're going to actually continue to make it happen. It doesn't exist yet, but with it having the NACS on it, as long as they don't like code it out so that you can't use it with another NACS equipped vehicle, that's pretty cool stuff. And even if they do, it's a matter of you're paying extra for Mercedes for this, right? So I get it. Andrew says, I hope this spreads to Europe as well. I don't see it happening, but I see the advantages for them to be able to do it. They're for them to just lift and shift. I don't see that happening because of so many European countries with three-phase to the home, and not just three-phase to the home, but three-phase to the home where each phase is limited in your amperage by a significant margin. However, while that is an advantage of the Type 2 port, I think what we might see, and I think you're onto something here, is that after they see the savings per car, for having a NACS plug that they'll either want to develop their own plug that has AC DC on the same socket, or we may see them adapt the NACs such that they find a place for the third pin. I don't know if that cross section in the middle that we use kind of for locating. I don't know if they can put a pin in there that's the right size. If so, that would mean that it's almost exactly the same. And we did see that what Tesla was doing previously with their version of the Type 2 port, they had a key on the center pin, so that way any cars that couldn't do DC over Type 2 wouldn't plug in, which was any non-Tesla at the time. And that was more compact as well. And they would use all three of the three-phase conductors to do, and the ground to do the DC charging. In fact, their adapter from CCS to the Type 2 for the older for the legacy S and X, it was quite interesting because it used four of the pins to hold the load safely, which was interesting. Saw somebody cut that open, and he got his from Clive, which was not Big Clive, and that was an interesting teardown, and I appreciated seeing how they did it. Robert says hello, hello, Robert. Yeah, so let's see. Let's pull up a picture of the NACS, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's see. Mercedes-Benz will be the first German OEM to implement the NACS ports in its new electric vehicles starting in 2025. As part of a phase transition, Mercedes-Benz will initially offer an adapter. What if I move these to this screen, since it's right in front of the microphone? Oh, hey, cool. It handled the shift from screens correctly because I didn't think about that. All right, so let's see. As part of a phase transition, Mercedes-Benz will initially offer an adapter that enables the company's existing CCS BEVs to charge seamlessly on the NACS networks from 2024 onwards. And then they talk about the Mercedes charging network. And of course, they don't have any pictures of the NACS, which is fine. Let's see. Wikipedia should be fine for looking at a picture. Perfect. All right, so where my head is, this space right here, I'm wondering if they could fit a third pin in there for you guys, for the ones that need the three-phase. Because if they could do that, then it's golden. Because we've got five-phase for 1772, 5 pins for NACS, and you guys should have just one more. It looks like you might have two more. One, two. There's 5 down there, and 2 up there. So you should have 7 to R5. So you have 2 extra pins. We've got 5. So what does the extra pin do? Well, let's look at that. Line 1, 2, and 3 on the outside there. Neutral and physical earth with the proximity pin and communication pin. So we would need 2 pins for the neutral to be on there as well. That's why Tesla's able to use 4 pins, because they use these 2 and these 2 on the adapter. I don't know what they use for the when they key the earth. They got a little arrow at the top, and they send DC over these guys. Interesting. So we need to find a neutral as well as. I still think the space could do it. Maybe even recess it a little bit. That way, if maybe not recess it, but in some way that it wouldn't work directly in a. Actually, even better. Like you've got CHAdeMO and MCS are worldwide standards. Aren't like they literally they don't change the connector for any region. So if they could find a place to put the neutral and the third, the L3, and make it so that it still also works in the NACS cars, then they could have a worldwide plug right there, and then only the stations would need. They could also save money in the European countries that don't do three-phase by just giving them the NACS. I think you're onto something there, Anders. I'm sure that's something the engineers can work through. But that's exciting. What's up, DJ Clay? Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Oh yeah, and I mentioned major holidays in North America. So we had Canada Day, followed by 4th of July. So no, we've got another one. No, we already had one in Mexico, but they aren't really driving this right now. So that's exciting. Good idea, Anders. All right, so let's we got Drive Tesla Canada is reporting the same. Mercedes will adopt NACS, build out its own network in North America. Now that I saw this quote in the other article, our strategic priority is clear: building the world's most desirable cars. To accelerate the shift to electric vehicles, we are dedicated to elevating the entire EV experience for our customers. I need a pop filter on this. That's sorry. Including fast, convenient, and reliable charging solutions wherever their Mercedes-Benz takes them. This is why we are committed to building our global Mercedes-Benz high-powered charging network with first sites opening this year. In parallel, we are implementing NACS in our vehicles, allowing drivers to access an expansive network of quality charging offerings in North America. Yep. Let's see if that first article had a comment that I liked. Let me go back. Yeah, I think it was the first article had the comment I liked. I'm seeing it now. Maybe it's on the electric article, which I closed. So basically, the commenter pointed out that it's a real Mercedes quality experience to be at a Walmart, having to call EA and then wait for something to happen. And so that was why it was smart for them to enable NACS and join up with Tesla on the superchargers. Which they have a point. They have a really good point. I mean, uh, when you're at that level of expense as the typical Mercedes EV is going to cost you, that not a Mercedes class experience at all. To be in the middle of a Walmart waiting on something to happen. All right, let's go to some fun video posts real quick. We got some tweets. Share this tab instead. And so Cybertruck New Zealand has a couple of tweets out. Big day at the Southern Hemisphere Proving Ground again, but it's worth it. Lots of footage. Here is the silver Cybertruck just coming out of the ice tunnel. It is coming up a slight turn up a hill. Not bad. All right, so let's look at the next thing. That's a photograph. Pretty cool. That's the ice tunnel. And let me make sure this thing is using the right microphone. It sounds like it to me, but it doesn't always tell me what it's doing for you guys. Yeah, that's correct. All right, next is another tweet by him. Close that. It's a series of videos. Here we can see them kind of wiggling it back and forth, going straight at a decent clip. This one is the camouflaged one versus the silver one. I'm we've got another video of looks like they're testing vehicle dynamics, maybe trying to put it into a skid and it not skidding thanks to the rear wheel steering. Probably also thanks to it being built correctly in the first place. And somebody pointed out that it looks like only this taillight is functioning, and I pointed out that we've seen that happen before in California, and hopefully that's just because this vehicle is testing out vehicle dynamics and not a a torture test of all the vehicle systems. But Tesla understands lighting is important. There we go. Still not spinning it out, but that one looked a little more drifty. Always fun. And then we've got another set of tweets, or another tweet with a set of media. They're trying to start it up the hill. Well, maybe they're still trying to spin it out and seeing how the stability control brings it back in line. I'm no mechanical engineer. Looking forward to getting that rear wheel steering though. Then we've got this one here. That's just steering. Or they're spinning the wheels, one or the other. All right. Cool Silver says nothing dries well on ice, but I sure know I don't want to wiggle about on it either. Indeed. Close that one. Then, yep, we already know about Mercedes and the NACS. So let's go back to talk about plugs real quick. And we've got our second V4 supercharger deployment, also in Europe, just like the first one. But this one's in France. I think the first one was in either Norway or Sweden. This one has 12 stalls, including one for vehicles with trailers. Woot woot. As Cybertruck comes out, there's going to have to be something they put more attention to, because right now you've got Model X and Model Y in the US that can tow. I know in Europe Model S can tow. I think in the US it could tow as well. I haven't seen anybody do it. And when I say Model S, I'm talking the Palladium and newer. Obviously, there have been people who put hitches on the previous S, but it wasn't a factory thing. Let's see. It's 12 stalls, looking like giant urban superchargers. And they have longer cables, which would be nice for all the various vehicles. I'm also noticing here that this is a very poor pergola, so it looks like it's going to be a solar panel covering, which is exciting. I'm also wondering if they're going to have this work for non-Teslas to supercharge as well, and if so, if they're going to enable the 1,000 volts or not. Let's see. This is located near an Ibis hotel in Clermont-Ferrand in France. It has 12 stalls, including one pull-through for larger vehicles or vehicles with trailers. First V4 supercharger opened in March 15th in the Netherlands. Oh, I was way off. I'm sorry. And I got the first letter of the country right. April 8th, they made it available for non-Tesla EVs, but that one isn't offering the high voltage charging yet, as far as higher than 400 volts. It's still catering to Teslas. Some kind of steel structure prepared for canopy for installation in the future, most likely a solar one. Yep, that's what I determined as well. Photos of the new station were shared on social media by Esther and Lulu. V4 supercharging stalls differ in many ways, including starting with a black and white color compared to red and white V3, taller shape, and a noticeably longer charging cable, about 9.5 to 9.8 feet, or 2.9 to 3 meters. Good, because that should cover most charge port locations. Most. Obviously, you'll have to turn the car around so that the port is closer to the station. You won't be able to just back in and plug it in the front or nose in and plug it in the back. Unless it's a particularly short car like a like a Citroen Ami. I don't think you'd be fast charging in those by any means because they charge just fine on a granny lead. Let's see. In Europe, the supercharging plugs are compatible with CCS2. Yeah, we know that. First generation S and X superchargers were equipped with a different solution, Type 2 compatible inlet, used not only for AC but DC. Yeah, yeah. So on those cars is why that adapter really exists. So you can still supercharge on them if you've got the retrofit. You'll put in your CCS to Type 2 adapter, and then you plug in the Type 2 um, DC to the car. And then the new cars just come with a CCS Type 2 native right in the charge flap. Permission is required to connect your device to your monitor. Who's trying to connect to my screen? Sure isn't me. We'll use this remote and hit deny. All right. Power output still appears to be 250 kilowatts per stall, but there's potential for higher in the future. According to photos, maximum values are 615 amps and 1000 volts. Boom. So that's good because the previous one did not have such a high plate rating. So they had around 500 volts and 400 amps or so. We're looking at 615 amps and 1000 volts to give us 615 kilowatts. That's great. Depending on the charging cabinet and EV capability. So the easiest test for this is if they open it up to non-Teslas and we get like a Porsche Taycan, one of the Hyundai EGMPs, or if they have Lucids in Europe already, you can hit a Lucid on there and see if it is any better. Because their whole complaint was not the amps, but the voltage. Mr. Rollison wanted to see 900 volts capability, and 1000 is certainly there. But we're gonna have to wait for them to turn that capability on because if it's just doing 250, it won't matter. Unofficial reports indicate the V4 stalls rated at 350 kilowatts are coming to North America. Woo, bring it. They might also be equipped with a CCS adapter, aka Magic Dock. They might, but I'm having a feeling right now that with all of these manufacturers switching to NACS and Washington State, Texas, and Kentucky requiring NACS on their public charging stations, uh, it would be fair to speculate that the Magic Dock is going to be stalled in its tracks. Because if all these manufacturers are supplying their owners with adapters, unless Tesla's going for those extra dollars from the folks whose companies aren't participating, which is right now very few, then they don't need the expense or maintenance requirements of putting the Magic Dock in more places than they already have, just from a business perspective. Another thing I'm noting here is that the V4 stalls are centered in the parking space rather than uh, canted to the left side of the vehicle, or what would be a North American driver's side. I know most of the world it's the driver's side, but in some of the places you'll see this thing, it's not. Um, where was I going with that? So you'll have Nissan Leaf doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but not for this conversation. Let's see. The Nissan Ariya will matter because it's got CCS. The Chevy Bolt won't because they are already part of the NACS and they'll have an adapter. The Volkswagen Group is in talks. Hyundai's in talks. Ford is there. Mitsubishi, the older ones were using CHAdeMO, and the Outlander doesn't need fast charging. It's got it, but doesn't need it. I don't see a reason for them to keep rolling out the Magic Dock at this point. I mean, because then you've got Mercedes Benz, they've jumped on. Rivian, you've got the Toyotas, but they can't charge in the cold anyway. Sorry, that was a low blow, but it's true. And um, I still have a feeling that Toyota may be one of the last ones to join next, but I don't think they'll be the last. You've got Honda, but they don't have any EVs left in the market because the Fit EV was not fast charging and it was lease only with no option to buy. And the Honda Prologue is a Chevy Blazer EV, and Chevy is part of the NACS coalition. And retail, the CCS adapter is what, $250? And if you do the markups the way that Tesla does all the rest of their markups, you're looking at what, $200 costs, unless they count packaging and shipping to be part of what they're marking up from. Then you're looking at maybe $175. So $175 per stall times however many stations you're going to put it on. I don't see the Magic Dock continuing at any great pace. If they do, there'll probably be a couple token spots before 2024 just to maybe gather more data. The Magic Dock connector will be redundant when you've got 86% of EVs on sale today are part of the NACS coalition. They may not have their adapters yet, but now you're paying twice for a vehicle because some of these manufacturers have committed to giving the adapters for free. Others just said adapters will be available, but available doesn't necessarily say we're going to give them to you. Or even if you request them that they won't be without cost to the customer. So that's going to be interesting to watch what happens with Magic Dock, and if they keep them on the if they don't continue the rollout, if they keep them on the stations that have them after 2024, once the bulk of the adapters for the next supercharger coalition get their adapters for their cars. That'd be something I want to talk to Patrick about and see what he writes an article about on Cars with Cords. Because we've already also decided that the J1772 is probably going away for new installs as well. As soon as the next native ports start rolling out, you'll have maintenance on the existing units, and we'll have probably closeout and clearance sales on the ones that are in the pipeline now. And we've already seen several of the charging station providers have given uh, plans for having retrofit kits, even for J1772, versus also the ones that are just making it available for new ones. Oh, cool! I like that. You guys have got emotes in the on the YouTube chat. I'm gonna have to move this where I can see it closer. That's awesome. Thank you. Getting a couple 100 emotes, and I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's do a little sampling of the audience here, see what everybody thinks what's going to happen with the Magic Dock rollout, and we'll kind of come back and compare notes towards the end of the year or next time Tesla makes an announcement on it, and then we'll see how that goes. I'm curious how close we all are to what actually becomes of the Magic Dock now that so many companies are already on the NACS. By the way, it's worth noting that in July, the electric car sales in France reached a cumulative of 100,000 units. Well, there you go. The first 50,000 were sold over a period of 13 years, while the second 50,000 were sold over a period of just 16 months. There's that exponential growth that we can never seem to account for as visualizing humans. It's just not what we're set up for. All right. Speaking of Rivian, Rivian and Amazon have rolled out their first electric delivery vans in Europe, starting in Germany, and it looks to be just the same EDV that we have here in the States with them. Bennett says, I think they've ruled out the Magic Dock to say, hey, we're doing this whether you go along with us or not. And I think that's a fair read on it because, again, they have that expense, the initial expense of installing, another um, supercharger frame or platform or module. And I see what you're saying. They did it to show that it's happening, and you can jump on board or you can deal with adapters. Maybe, yeah, because I think that maintenance is going to be what gets them. Because even the Tesla superchargers have folks who don't take care of them and have folks who vandalize them. But with the design of NACS and the design of the cables that Tesla uses that are not rated for 10,000 cycles, because no cable is going to make it that long in public. um, it just makes sense. Let's see. All right, so how many did they send over there? I need to move these beverages. I've got one right in front of me that's closed, and one off to my side that's open. Companies have conducted rigorous testing to ensure the design incorporates feedback from drivers. Yeah, I mean, if they brought it to another continent without tweaking it a little bit, that would be foolish. Unless the customer thought it was perfect as is in the States, because they only have one customer right now. Well, two. You've got Amazon, and then you've got Rivian Service. They use the fans as well. Theirs are, instead of that, Amazon blue green, they are white with text on the side, similar to the Tesla service vehicles. Let's see. In order to better navigate Europe's cities, Rivian designed a shorter, thinner van for the European market. Ah, okay. Now, I wonder if that is any shorter than the existing short van, because Rivian has two models that they offer Amazon right now. You've got one with a center panel like this, and one with two center panels. So they are very long. And then on the existing vans, they have a similar situation. There's a panel on the right-hand side where this was the entry door in the US, but also in France. But uh, the entry door here, there's a panel behind the grab handle where they can just narrow the width of the van without having to do anything but get rid of that one piece of plastic cover. Uh, they don't have to have a separate dashboard and separate interior because the vehicle's already got a provision to be just slimmed up by a couple inches right there built into it. So I wonder if they're just using that provision or if they actually have done something further to make it more narrow. What am I kicking down here? Question, 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 question. What does that mean? Oh, excellent. Congratulations, Anders. Anders celebrates 17 months of membership. Uh, I hope Kacey reached more people. Click the like button. Thank you, Anders. All right. So the partnership between Rivian and Amazon began in 2019, where the EVs are already delivering packages in over 500 cities and regions across the U.S. I haven't seen any personally, but I've seen the expansion go across the country. It's pretty incredible. So they're still on contract for 100,000 of them by 2030. And then Rivian, Amazon still has contracts with, I believe, Mercedes and Stellantis to do more vans, particularly in Europe, but also in the States. There's a dual sourcing situation there. All right. So moving on to the next one, we've got police crack down on Illegally fast electric bikes. We tried to warn you, say police. All right. So, as one commenter notes, this doesn't appear to be much of a crackdown as much as it was a case of it would be negligent policing to have let this one slide. Uh, they found or came across a 13-year-old running a illegally powerful e-bike on the public roads. This 13-year-old obviously doesn't have a an operator's license or even a permit, and the vehicle isn't legal in any way. The motors are too powerful for um, they're too powerful for California roads per law. It doesn't have pedals, so it's not a bicycle or a moped per law. But at the same time, it is not a real motorcycle either. Um, it doesn't have mirrors and a number of other things that would need to be classified as a moped or motorcycle. And I do believe that mopeds still need pedals. They don't have to be useful pedals, but they do need to be there and connected to the drivetrain. Uh, should you run out of gas or electric, you could pedal it. Uh, in either case, a 13-year-old is not authorized to operate a moped or a motorcycle, electric or gas. And well, let's go on with the story here. The Manhattan Beach Police Department in Manhattan Beach, California, recently shared a warning of what can happen if you ride a non street legal e bike on public roads. In a social media post, the MBPD showed a confiscated Suron electric motorbike that had been apprehended after being used on the public roads. Now, why are they allowed to sell a vehicle that's not legal to operate? Suron intends this vehicle to be used off road, like on trails and such. So, private property. And that's the case there. All right, I got an email from support on my Zendur battery pack. Maybe this thing will actually work after engineering takes a look at it. I was asking them if it was a unit in need of RMA or if it was a software issue. Bennett says it was on a farm. I didn't notice that when I first read through that. Let me look as well. Yeah, because if he's on a farm, then they have no reason being on his private property. If he left the farm or traversed like a public easement to get between two parts of the farm or two different farms, they could have snagged him there. Or if they'd previously caught him out on the public roads and didn't snag him there, and then came back and said, "Hey, mom and dad, uh, we need to talk to your son, and we need that bike." I can see that. Although I'd probably fight it because these bikes are expensive. Um, all right, let's see. As police department explained, we tried to warn you. We totally get that electric vehicles are the wave of the future and that everyone is in a hurry to get somewhere. However, giving a 13-year-old an electric bike that exceeds 30 miles an hour, that lacks the required safety equipment, and a driver without any sort of understanding of the rules of the road is a recipe for disaster. And that is part of the issue is even unlicensed, like regular bicycles, you're not supposed to ride them on the sidewalks in most jurisdictions. And when you ride them on the public roads, you have to follow the rules of the road, stopping for stop signs, running your hand signals, and stopping for red lights, those sorts of things. Yielding to true pedestrians like people walking, people on wheelchairs, that sort of thing. Yeah, we have weird rules on farms. Yeah, yeah, like we have like farm diesel, for instance. It's got a dye in it, and if they think that you're not paying your road use tax with your diesel and you don't have farm plates, and they dip your tank and it's got the color in it, well, you're in for a world of hurt. I think they also dye the avgas as well. Right, so let's see. Saran motorbikes and other similar motorbikes are such as the newly released Talaria Triple X are designed primarily for off-road use. They lack the requirements of bicycles and e-bikes for legal on-road use, including having speed and power limits that exceed the legal limits for electric bikes. And you would want more power going off-road, like climb a mountain, do trailing, and that sort of thing. So I get that. And if they didn't do any of the testing required for being on road, that can also allow them to pass some of those savings on to you, because if you also never intended to operate it on the road, then why pay for the road certifications, right? Electric bikes are legal to a point. Top comment. I'm not sure if a single bike being confiscated qualifies as a crackdown, especially since the offense would be hard to ignore. A motorcycle with a 13-year-old and no plates. I bet you the plates is really what really got them to notice it. And then if the person had a really childlike face at 13, of course they'd have to not be wearing a helmet for you to even see the face. So a motorcycle helmet at this point. Let's see. Millions of street legal bikes in the US, but they must meet several requirements to be approved for street use. Most of the non-street legal bikes, such as these, are not illegal per se, but aren't permitted to operate on public roads. They're mainly designed for riding on private trails, similar to dirt bikes, yet without the loud engines and expensive maintenance of gasoline-powered dirt bikes. Exactly. Purely off-road motorbikes are a growing category. Sir Ron got its foot in the door early several years ago, and newer companies are offering increasingly affordable and attractive models. They're beginning to replace combustion dirt bikes, which would make sense because if you're out there enjoying nature, you might not appreciate not being able to hear that there's like a bear coming up against you or something. So, I don't know. Let's see what else they had in the comments. I'm curious. I've had purely off-road and on and off-road motorbikes. The Surron bikes are being offered off-road use has no more or less than an ice off-road bike. Yeah, they did used to offer gas bikes, like not like motorcycles, but like I guess like similar to a moped, but it was a bicycle still. People do ride off-road ices on the roads, and they also get caught, fined, and such things tend to occur at camps, cabins, and cottages as opposed to within urban areas. Yeah, that's true. I've known some kids when I was growing up that rode their regular dirt bikes on the road to get to their trails, and sometimes the constabulary didn't care as long as they were going to and from the trail, and sometimes they were hardlines about it, and you had to trailer it there or push it. The pushing it's fun because those things are heavy. Interestingly, it wasn't uncommon to see dirt bikes and quads ripping around the Houston streets, usually in sketchier parts of town. This was totally illegal also, but it felt like a novelty outside the rural areas where you usually see them. I think New York City may have had issues with them in the past. Yeah. And it saw quads and ATVs going electric too, beyond Power Wheels and Cyberquad. Yeah, absolutely. And for all the same reasons, the maintenance, the fuel costs, and then again, if you're using it to enjoy nature or maintain your farm, you might appreciate the quiet. You hear gears and tires crunching, but you don't hear just this inane, rip roaring, wheezing loud box. And then the fumes. Yes, the fumes as well. I've often thought that side mirrors and turn signals, maybe even brake lights, would be useful features for e-bikes when riding in the city. I wonder why more bikes don't have them. I'll tell you, money. It costs maybe up to $1 for a switch and another $2 for some lights and wiring. So voluntary would be cool. Like let you have it as an accessory. Number of times I've seen near collisions on the cycle lane because somebody suddenly probably makes an unexpected turn or overtaking maneuver without looking over their shoulder to see what's behind them. You should be signaling if you don't have signals, like hand signaling. Polaris started with lead acid in their Ranger, but I think they're all lithium ion now or soon. Which reminds me of the Ryobi lead acid mower. I was watching Aging Wheels and one other person on YouTube who converted theirs from lead acid to lithium ion. Neither of them used drop-ins, which I thought was weird because for the prices that some of them were paying, a drop-in wasn't that much more versus having to re-engineer the thing. Why did I think of Polaris with Ryobi? I don't know. I just did. Speaking of fast two-wheelers, BMW officially launches its low-cost, by BMW standards, light electric motorcycle. Let's see, 2 years ago they gave us a preview, and now the BMW CE02 has officially launched off the brand's electric motors. That's the brand's latest electric motorbike. I had some specs in here. Let's see, a top speed of 59 miles per hour or 95 kilometers an hour should be sufficiently fast for pretty much any urban or suburban riding requirement. MSRP of $7,599 before destination. It's also BMW's lowest priced electric motorbike to date. It doesn't compare favorably to upcoming electric scooters with larger batteries at lower prices, but riders are also getting the backing of the BMW Motorrad in addition to just a BMW emblem on the side. You're paying for what you get, as well as the branding. Head of BMW Motorrad design, Elgar Heinrich, explained that the 291-pound or 132 kilogram CE02 is designed largely as an urban play bike as opposed to a utility bike. Hey, electrify all the things. So let's see, you've got a pair of 2 kilowatt hour ish batteries for 3.92 kilowatt hours of rated charge. I wonder if this uses the Gogoro modules or the Japanese modules that you can replace, or if that's just what they have is just two small batteries in there. I say small, but my little 3.3 kilowatt hour batteries in the garage weigh 100 pounds, so each. Let's see. Uh, Fairly powerful 11 kilowatt peak rated motor. That's way more powerful than that illegal illegal bicycle we were just talking about. Meaning that the real world range is likely to drop significantly below the max of 56 miles when traveling at higher speeds or using the higher power riding mode. Clickbait Trends says, still cheaper than a lot of boutique e-bikes. This is absolutely true. Recharging occurs with a level 1 off-board charger, similar to an e-bike. A full recharge from empty will take around 5 hours with a standard 0.9 kilowatt charger, or closer to 3.5 hours with the higher power 1.5 kilowatt charger. BMW states the 20 to 80% charge times as 2.8 hours and 2.3 hours, respectively. So one thing here, though, is with it being BMW, is that charger should be a lot safer than the ones that George and I were talking about recently on an episode of What Drives Us. Because it's a larger company with more to lose, they're going to make sure it's tested correctly and is safe. Not saying that other bike vendors won't do that, but some don't. Then that's the whole point of our previous article there. There's a single-sided swing arm, inverted front fork, disc-style cast wheels, keyless start. That's cool. Adjustable reach, handbrake levers, reverse gear. I like the idea of reverse. I don't know how necessary it is for true cyclists, but I like it. A USB-C charging port for devices like cell phones. Neato. The newly unveiled Connected Ride smart glasses will also be compatible with the bike, allowing riders to see real-time data overlaid in front of their eyes with a heads-up display. That's pretty cool, too. It joins its larger sibling, the BMW CE04 Maxi scooter, and the bike's higher power and faster top speed make it highway capable, but also carries a higher price tag of $12,000 US, which, if you were just trying to do an urban commute through the city, it sounds like the CE02 is a much better deal for that. So why pay for the highway rating if you don't ever plan to get on the highway? Neato. Very cool. They basically copied an older Briggs & Stratton mini bike engine. A very cool retro look that is really in right now. Too bad it has a premium price point. And this person pointed out it's cheaper than modern e-bikes. Or many boutique e-bikes, I should say. There we go. Oh, that's what made me think of Ryobi is the lead acid to lithium ion. All right. If you wanted to see Optimus Bot up close and personal, you can head on over to the Tesla store in New York City, and we're not sure if it's a mock-up or just isn't activated. There's an argument going on in the comments about whether it's real. I would suggest that it's some kind of display model that may have a certain number of actual functional components in it, but I would doubt that the folks at the NYC store would be able to just flip it on and actually make it do stuff, even if it is fully functional. Like it may be missing the battery, for instance. Let's see. Yep, so you can go to New York City and look at the static display there. What else would be cool is if they just kind of plugged it in and it was in like demo mode, like the rest of the Teslas on the floor there. Like on the Model X, you can open and close the doors on some of them. Some of them, the doors are stuck down or stuck up, depending on which showroom mode it's in. I've been in showrooms where it said, "Nope, you can't move the doors. It's in showroom mode," and others where it's like, "Oh, you can't shift because you're in showroom mode," but the doors worked. It's interesting. But these are pictures of folks who saw this, and there's another person arguing whether it's real or not. Doesn't matter. If you want to see it up close and personal, um, to get a feel for the sizing and then the materials, it's there. Let's see. U.S. first, fossil fuel plant workers will be retrained for offshore wind. So this union has come to an agreement with the labor union members at New York's Ravenswood generating station will be the first U.S. fossil fuel plant workers to transition to operating offshore wind equipment. It's a 2.4 megawatt, sorry, no, it's 2.4 gigawatt power plant in Long Island City, Queens, across from Roosevelt Island, providing 20% of the city's power. New York City's largest fossil fuel plant and fossil fuel generating station is going to be replaced with 1.4 gigawatts of offshore wind power. The 27-acre waterfront as an oil and gas industrial site will be converted to clean energy hub that powers 1/5 of the city of New York. Neato. And needs a skilled workforce to run it. This is what we need to see. Electrifying all the things. Like that, Trent. Yo, good to see you. Go Tracks, We'll Go Board, and Highboy Charger all have the same case. I noticed the other day. Luckily, Highboy put their name on it. um, it makes it easier if the brand name is on it, but I also like it when they do use a common part like that, assuming that it's tested and certified. And I think who was it who pointed out that some of the stickers you see may not be legit, but with the stickers, you can then look them up and see if they match what you're looking at, and if they do, then you know it's good. Dan says good as it should be. Bennett says nice. Yes. All right. So next up, our friends at Lexus are offering their version of the BZ4X or the Busy 4 or the Subaru Solterra, and it already has $10,000 off. This thing just came out. Like I was just seeing it less than 2 weeks ago, just making its way across the review segment. So interesting to see it already have this high of a price drop. Imagine if you bought it when you saw the first review or were in line before the reviews came out. That'd sting a little bit. I mean, I guess I say imagine as Tesla owners, some of us have already seen it, but uh, actually, this happened to me with one of my Volts or both. I got the Volts, and then they had a permanent price drop right after I got it. That felt good. It did not. All right, so let's see. Already offering a steep discount. You can get your hands on one. In some cases, you can earn up to $10,000 in lease cash on the 2023 Lexus RZ. The Okay, so they unveiled it in April. The 2023 RZ450E is based on the TNGA platform, aka the Busy Forks, and the Subaru Solterra. They say the RZ marks a transition to BEV-centered brand. Yeah, sure, we'll see. Toyota. Although the electric SUV shares the platform with Toyota, the automaker ensures that it's unique with a okay, I see. Yeah, with an innovative design inside and out. Yeah, it doesn't look as bad as the 4X, and it does look better than the Solterra. But the Solterra looks pretty good compared to the 4X. Those names, though, exactly. Oh, those names are. What happened is easy names like Camry and Corolla. But again, that probably goes back to the previous Toyota and probably current Toyota administration not actually wanting to do electric cars. Because look what car got an easy to say name, Mirai, the hydrogen garbage. In Lexus's defense, all their cars have gobbledygook names like this. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I don't need to do an advertisement for this car. Basically, you can get $10,000 in lease cash up to already. Forget bringing back the Hummer name. Bring back Ion. Oh, that would be awesome. They own that. Yes. What would we put it on? Would you put it on like a crossover or an SUV? They don't make cars anymore. Well, they have the Capo Camaro and the Camaro. Maybe an electric Camaro could be the Ion. It looks like they're about to kill the Camaro brand again for a while. I've been watching some people talk about the last one that's coming out. That's got like the crazy motor or whatever. Let's be real, they're all crossovers now. That's true, except the Dodge Brothers and the Corvette, the Model 3, the Corolla, the current Camaro. But like you said, the Camaro Cross is coming out, so the Ion would be a perfect Camaro Cross. I, I think those are all the cars sold by um, large American. Toyota's not an American company, but Toyota America sells those, so I don't know. I think those are the large car. I mean, because you still got the budget cars; they can still come as a car. So you got the Hyundai family. You've got Volkswagen still makes cars. Subaru hasn't made cars in decades because their cars are all SUVs. Remember they raised up all their vehicles by an inch or three to get them all classified as trucks. Uh, there aren't many cars left in this country. There aren't. It's quite sad. You've got Honda. Honda makes the Civic and the Accord. I think they might still make the Fit, but that could technically be a small crossover. Not like crossover height, but and then you've got that thing that is basically a Fit and a Corolla that Toyota and Honda make the HHR, not the HHR, the CHR, and then the rival. Yeah. Right, next up, there was somebody talking about a semi-solid battery, and I skipped it because then I saw that Neo has finally added a solid-state battery to their manuals. The arrival of a 930-kilometer range option is imminent. All right, so now I need to look up conversion factor between the Chinese fuel cycle to American. All right. EPA versus WTLP versus CTLC. So if they're getting 930 kilometers, EPA receives around 90% of the time for their owners. I don't want a comparison of the two, like what's better. I want a comparison of how to convert between the two. We found it easily last time, that's why I didn't write it down. Let's convert it to the European cycle. Let's do that. CLTC to LTP. 25% higher, 15 to 25% higher. So 930. Be generous and give them 15% off. 790.5 kilometers. And then let's do WLTP to EPA. And again, be conservative and say 11%. So 790.5. That's another 11%. Impressive still. That's a 703.54 kilometer EPA rating. Let's convert that to miles. Is 437.16 miles per charge. That's not bad. Eddie says, I'm so sick of the SUV, CUV looking cars, ICE, EVs, and hybrids. Yeah, the styling situation is sad right now. Let's see. Um, Typed in all cars look alike as my search, and this is what came back. This one, Ryan Cooley. I want that like SUV CUV shot. Yeah, this one. This is what Eddie's talking about right here. Like they all look like this. And unless you drive a particular one or know somebody who does, without these labels, good luck figuring out which is which. Yeah, that trend says 100%. They all look the same. Yes. All right, so let's go back to that Neo though. And so what did I say? 400 and what? 437.16 miles conservatively, giving or optimistically, I should say. 'Cause I used the lower number for all of them. 400 miles of range is not anything to sneeze at. I mean, look what can do that today. You've got the Lucid, you've got the Model S, you've got like the Prius or the Camry hybrid. There aren't very many vehicles that can do that today. At the same time, if you ask folks like Peter Rawlinson, Elon Musk, some folks at Toyota, all you really need is 250 miles and a way to recharge quickly. If you have both of those things, then you can save the money and wait on a extra long range battery. One advantage they always try to sell us on with the solid state batteries is that they charge faster, so you can put a smaller battery in there and charge it up quicker. Are they doing solid state swap stations? I doubt it though, because Except in China, I don't see anybody who'd want to have any of that. If you pay extra for the solid state battery, I don't know anyone who'd want to accidentally get a gel battery, or worse, get one that wasn't taken care of. Like if you only charge to 90%, stop discharging at 5 or 10%, and then somebody else 0 to 100 every day. I don't I don't see that taking off anywhere except for like European cores and China. Anybody who has off-street parking is going to want to continue to baby their machine, unless it was like a work vehicle or something. Watched Donut's video about car shape names the other day. Realized the Model Y has a bit of a camback and Coke bottle shape, despite also being a jelly bean. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a camback, and I think most of theirs are. I didn't watch that video, but I'm gonna have to watch it. Was it recent or is it not say archive, but a library video of theirs, so I can find it. Let's see. So 2.5 years after sharing their plans to implement a 150 kilowatt hour solid state battery pack. That's not bad. 150 kilowatt hours. I mean, it's a little larger than you'd expect, but the other benefit of solid states is they're supposed to be lighter. So let's see if the article says they'll continue to do swaps. Not too recent. Okay, I'll have to remember to do a search later, or you can message me a link. If folks start renting batteries, they'll be treated like rental cars and bowling shoes. Exactly what I think could be why this particular battery won't be part of that. Let's see. Full scale commercialization. I'm gonna say probably not for another reason though. Remember, was it last week or the week before where Neo said that they were no longer including battery swap in their new cars that are being sold? You have to option up to get the battery swap put back into the newer cars. And then we saw what VinFast did with theirs, where you're releasing the battery, and now in the States anyway, the battery is included and the price went up to match. And then we saw a Better Place went out of business. Tesla tried it. Most of us would say they didn't do a very good job of trying it, and they quit. I think there was one other that did it, and they also went out of business. Unless that was just another version of Better Place, because they had them in Israel and someplace else. Was it Israel or was it just Jerusalem? I think it was just Jerusalem, because it was a small area they covered. 40% more energy dense. Okay, so if it's the same size pack, I would appreciate the capacity increase personally. So it's going to weigh 1,200 pounds, 44 pounds heavier than the 100 kilowatt hour packs that they offer today. All right, yeah, that's fair. Additionally, the new pack's energy density is 261 watt hours per kilogram, 44.44% higher than the 180 watt hours a kilogram that the 100 kilowatt hour lithium pack is offering. I have expected this would be a hybrid pack. That's where they use conventional lithium ion for part of the pack and solid state for the rest. That would also be a good idea, especially if they have any sort of issues with power output or anything like that. We've seen hybrid packs, not commercially before, but we've seen hybrid packs in like race vehicles or experimental vehicles and home builds. That would allow them to keep their cycle count low on the solid state part of the pack. Solid state batteries usually have lower cycle life. Yeah, right now they do. The semi-solid Zendur battery was like 3,000 cycles, and the LFP pack was something like 4,000 or 5,000 cycles, and it was cheaper, so that's why I went with the LFP. Fat lot of good it did me. Lee asks, how's it going? What's up, Lee? Hope you're doing well. Just nerding out over here. We talked about plugs for a little bit, and then talked about bikes, and now we're talking about solid state batteries. Also, notice I've been skipping all the news about Toyota's going to do it soon. Toyota's going to do it soon, because Toyota has been saying that for 20 years. And yet again this week, not just this week, but also a couple weeks ago, Toyota was saying it's coming. And sure, whatever. Put up or shut up, Toyota. Speaking of put up or shut up, this guy right here. Elon Musk believes that Tesla will have a level 4, level 5 self-driving this year. What does that mean? Exactly. Not sure how scalable swap is financially, especially since charge times are falling. It's not scalable financially, except in dense urban environments where most of your customers street park, or at least can't get charging because they live in a multifamily arrangement. You have to have enough packs to swap on hand, and somebody did the math, and they said that if it takes 5 minutes to swap, you'll need anywhere from 12 to 20 batteries per stall if it takes you 5 minutes minimum to do the battery swap, and then you'd have to be able to charge the first battery in under an hour to be able to continue that cycle. You have to be able to get them all charged in under an hour before you cycle back to the first battery again. So 12 to 20 packs per stall. Let's say you have a minimum of 4 stalls. Let's see, for 20. So you need 80 packs just for a 4 stall station. And if you can only do one every 5 minutes, that means that you're looking at, was that 40, 4, 12, 48, yeah, 48. 48 cars changed in an hour, and you needed 80 packs per stall to do that. So 80 times 4, you're looking at, oh, that's not 480 times 4, just 80 times 4. You need 320 packs per site uh, at a 4 pack. It's not good. It doesn't need you look how much a battery pack costs. The lowest price we've seen quoted for a all new warranty pack was what, $12,000, and I don't remember who that was. So 320 times 12,000. Customer cost obviously doesn't cost the manufacturers that much, but it's not cheap for them either. So for that smaller battery, you're looking at $36,000 in battery packs. What? That's not right. That's only 3 of them. Did I say 80 times 4? Yeah, $3.84 million per station in batteries. Yeah, it's not feasible. Especially, like you said, with the charge times falling and your urban core slash non your purely street park customers being a smaller amount. Now you could probably cut that in half if you like extra fast charge the batteries, but then you've got to have a higher electrical connection to the grid. You've got to have uh, higher demand charges because at that same time you'll need to be able to get at least 4 of those batteries ready to go for the next customer ready to go. Um, I don't see how the math of this works out. Yeah, exactly. You need enough power to charge 75 packs at a time, or at least 4 of them fully charged every 5 minutes. So of the 12 minimum that you have, 12 to 20, and let's call that 60 kilowatt hours. Let's put this on the screen in front of me, so I'm talking into the microphone. Whoops. Oh. So let's see. Let's call it 60 kilowatt hours times 80 packs. That's that's about 4.8 megawatt. Yeah, or gigawatt. I've done something wrong there. 4,800 times 60. Yeah, it's 4.8 gigawatt. No, it's 4.8 megawatts. That's 4,800 kilowatts. Yeah, that's gonna be quite a honking grid connection there. Exactly, Trent. It says he says if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I see the utility for the customers that don't have a home charging situation, but in order for you to install this infrastructure, you're going to need to pay for it, and that means you're going to need to charge them for it. And if it costs you $100 a charge, I'm sure you could just find your way to a fast charging station and wait an hour for a full charge. Normally, we don't talk about it in terms of full charging because that's assuming that you're on a trip or that you have home charging where you'll charge to a reasonable limit, such as 80 to 90%, 70%, and you'll only go down to 5 or 10%, usually 20%. But when I was living at the apartment, I did this as well. I would run it down to 20% and I would recharge it to 90, 95% because by the time I got back to where I was going, I'd already used up a portion of my charge. I didn't do 95% all that often, just if I wanted to avoid a second charge sometime else in the week. And if you told me I could do that for however much you guys are paying for supercharging, I had it for free, so I didn't do the math on it. Um, but let's say the most I've heard people pay so far for supercharging that weren't like sensationalist rental car articles was about $14 to $16. So $14 to $16 a week, maybe twice a week, versus 80 to $120 for a swap to make these numbers add up. I think I could make that happen. Or what I would, if I wasn't averse to combustion, what I would do is actually just get a plug-in hybrid and and charge it when I could, and then just have the gas or hydrogen, or not that there's a hydrogen plug-in hybrid yet, but something like that where I could fill up quickly and just continue on. Again, assuming I didn't have a way to charge at home. I don't see swapping stations ever. If you couldn't make them work in Jerusalem, you might be able to make them work in a dense core of China and a dense core of Europe, but I don't see it working anywhere else. And even there, now that it's dense, you need the larger stations, which means that you need more batteries and bigger grid connections. And yeah, you could do it off grid. Where are you going to find that kind of real estate in a downtown urban core? Be able to charge 4.8 megawatts all day long. Yeah, that's another possibility right there. Things would be different after full autonomy is solved. What I think might be more cost effective would be wireless charging, where you've got like a half size battery for getting around town, doing commuting, and then when you get to the freeways and the major arterials in a city, your car would just pick up charge wirelessly or even conductively from overhead wires. Um, that would be more cost effective and reliable to me than battery swap. And you can spread that cost over everybody who drives in the city rather than, or everybody who drives on that highway, rather than having some company have millions of dollars of just not just a depreciating asset, but a degrading asset. Like it depreciates, yes, but uh, as you said, rental cars and bowling shoes, these things are not going to be treated correctly. You don't know if somebody's going to be like we saw that one in China last week before, where the battery fell out from under the car. We're not sure if that was a swappable car or not. It was not a Neo. Um, so anyway, somebody goes off roading and scratches up the bottom of the pack. As the owner of the pack, you are responsible for repairing and replacing it because you can't put that dent and scratch pack back into a customer's car because if something happens and that thing lights on fire, your liability is through the roof. And then the other question is, what about customers that crash their car? So you selling them a battery with the car, and then if they crash their car, it doesn't matter, you haven't lost one from the system? Or are you renting them that pack as well? And then how do you get it back if they crash their car? And if they swap in a 80,000 cycle, okay, that's not realistic. They swap in a 400 cycle battery and they just took a brand new one from you. That's an added risk right there. If they go and crash their car with your brand new pack in it and you just took their ancient one back. Assuming that swapping was optional. If swapping is not optional, then and it says, I think that's why bolts were so popular. Charge if you can. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I use mine. The only thing I would have liked to see from the bolt was a bigger pack. Like if you put a 40 kilowatt hour pack in there, and then you could use the gas other times. I mean, that's a good regional car right there. It was 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Wasn't bad. Sometimes 5 or 6 miles per kilowatt hour if you drove it nicely. It had a 16 kilowatt hour pack initially. I think it ended up at like 18 kilowatt hours, and then the last gen one was like around 12 or 14 kilowatt hours usable. My first two were 10 and just over 10 kilowatt hours usable. And a hatchback, yes. If the NAC standard could include wireless as well, that would be awesome. Wait, sorry, I'm trying to read like the comment like on my screen. The what you guys see is tiny, and then I've got another screen, but they didn't line up. So if the NAC standard could include wireless as well, that would be awesome. That would be helpful at offices, on street, and in the city. That that is possible. Well, we saw at the last Tesla meeting there was a what looked like a wireless charging pad on the wall in the garage that was underneath that red Model S. I don't know if that'll be part of NACS or if that'll be part of CCS or what. Hopefully, it's not Tesla exclusive, but that would be something to consider, especially if you could be in motion while charging. Because we've seen who was it? We talked about them a couple weeks ago, where they took a like a Rav4 Prime and they went like half a day just driving around. The Prime should have been dead by then, but it wasn't because it was charging on the track while they were doing their loops. Yeah. All right, so let's see what Musk says this time. I'm not a Musk hater, but man, he really should just give us the current developments and say, hey, it'll be done next week. Congrats, yay, we did it. Versus making predictions about this thing, because the last time that he spoke about it, I think it was at a shareholder meeting. He said he started to say it, and he's like, "No, you guys don't want me to say it, do you?" And everyone's like, "No, don't say it, don't say it." And then he said, "Sometime this year." Um, so let's see, Musk again decided to share a timeline about self-driving effort, again claiming it will achieve full self-driving by the end of the year. But this time, the CEO has mentioned it'll be level 4 or level 5 self-driving. However, it's not clear if he knows what that means. Over the years, Musk has claimed that Tesla was on the verge of achieving full self-driving capability so often that it's hard to believe him now. Yes, exactly. The boy who cried wolf, man. Not wolfman, but man. It's not only hard to believe, but it's also even hard to understand what the actual goal is at this point. So Electric says Musk promising FSD for 3 minutes straight at got music.
This is a very simple problem. This is not the case for computers. We have to.
Anyway, I thought it'd be fun, but we weren't gonna watch all of it anyway. But some of those ones you see. Anyway, the original promise was quite clear. Every car sold since 2016 would be able to drive by itself entirely by itself at a safer level than humans through software updates in the future. Yeah, my 2016 Model S 90D was never able to come out of the garage and meet me at the front door. despite the fact that at my house it is super easy. Because at my house, you just need to be able to, well, one, you need to be able to fit in the garage, which the Model S barely did with the washer and dryer removed from the garage. And then it also had to be able to unplug itself and just go straight for a little bit. And then I could get in. So technically, the Model S did that. Like it had the home link, it could open the door, it could roll out, close the door behind itself, and I could get in. But that's not the way it was described. It was described like Smart Summon or the Walk Away um, Park Seek, and of course we all know that AP1 could not do that. The landmark, uh, LA landmark to NYC landmark without interventions, including back into charging itself. Right? Exactly. That one was what came out with AP2, and maybe it will be able to do that sometime soon, but it's not doing it now. And I know that they have more capability than what we're seeing, but right now, the kind of little mistakes that my car makes, the rudeness it has about making turns, it doesn't really indicate turns until it's committed to them. Um, some of the turns where it should be indicating, like you can see it on the GPS, you can see it on the Ego planner. Like, so it's not even a matter of, oh well, GPS and FSD are thinking different things. The planner shows, hey, I'm going to make a turn up ahead, and it doesn't signal until it hover slams the brakes to make the right turn. It's like, also, you shouldn't be hover slamming my brakes. You're an EV with regen. You should be regenning down gently, since you know that the stop is up ahead in a quarter mile. Ease off the throttle. All right, now apply more regen. All right, now, oops, I miscalculated. It's got a slight downhill I didn't see. Okay, now I need the brakes for that. But you shouldn't need the brakes for these maneuvers, especially on the new cars with the permanent magnet motors. You guys can do a one pedal drive, so they should never be activating the brakes except for panic stops or surprises. I see this hardware being capable of doing it with further software enhancement. Personally, I don't think that's going to happen before 2 years. But again, as I pointed out earlier in the show, we're bad at figuring out exponents, like conceptually. But at the same time, I think Elon is overly optimistic here, as always. Let's continue on here. At times, level 5 SAE autonomy was mentioned by Musk. So that's a standard. That means something in particular. So you can't just say, oh well, it was a marketing thing. It means that you don't have to touch the wheel, but you have to be there. Blah blah blah. No, that has a definition at level 5 SAE. That famous turn before a stop sign that folks analyzed endlessly recently. I saw that behavior of ignoring the sign when I was on some windy roads in rural North Carolina. Work to be done. Yeah. During the last update before this one, mine was running the stop sign at my house. That stop sign has been here since my Volts, and um, the Model S could see it. Not that it would show you that it could see it, but it saw it. And the Model X has been seeing it forever. And I've driven some newer cars down here, and people have driven Model 3s and other non-legacy cars through here. So it's not a matter of that they don't know the stop sign is there. In fact, my car would draw the stop sign and then run it. It doesn't run it anymore. But I do think I had a case where it was going to run a stop sign at another time, and I'm the driver, so I hit the brakes because running out of the traffic is not acceptable. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Are we gonna get it this year? Who knows? Musk doesn't know either, clearly. But let's see what else he said. Aside from level 5 SAE, which has a definition, just like the J7 SAE, J1772-2009. That means this particular plug, and there's no way around it. But since Tesla released its FSD beta, these previously clear goals have now become more vague and disappointing. And the reason for that is probably because they don't want to give us the hardware 4 upgrade for free. And so if they can say, hey, that meets these goals that we just made up, you have FSD now, they can then say they collect all the money from all the money that's they don't get to count all the FSD money until FSD is done. So each time they reach a certain milestone, they're able to recognize more and more of that money. And again, not wanting to give us the upgrades to 4 for free. I can see them saying, "Hey, it's good enough. It does these things. You've got FSD. Have a nice day." So that would explain some of that vagueness. Hello, 01010. Good to see you. So Tesla started using terms like feature complete and capable of driving at a safer level than humans with FSD beta. However, it has become clear how Tesla plans to get FSD, less clear how Tesla plans to get FSD out of beta and into a product that can actually be useful like a robot taxi service. And I don't think I touched on it, but I may have. Elon said that the next. Oh, I did touch on it because I said that he's got room to just kind of endlessly raise the number up. So he says the next version of FSD, version 12, won't be FSD beta. It'll be not beta. It'll be complete. And this kind of plays into that as well. So he's like he continues to double down on it. Looks like Tesla softened its language after missing its goal and timeline a few times. Musk mostly stopped making a clear timeline predictions until recently. Yeah, he suddenly started right back around that shareholder meeting where he's talking about, oh yeah, it's by the end of the year, right there, by the end of the year. He remained vague on what form it would take. And in a recent comment at an AI conference in China, I haven't watched it yet. I wanted to, but stuff got in the way. CEO has used the new language that makes things even more interesting. In terms of what Tesla is, where Tesla is at this stage, I think that we are very close to achieving full self-driving without human supervision. Now, this is something I'm looking forward to, even if it's not coast to coast summon or um, robotaxi. Like, if they can get it to where Honda and Mercedes are with their level 3 liability, because I'm not saying that the capabilities of the Mercedes or the Honda are any better than FSD, but those two companies, in those very narrow sets of circumstances, are willing to take on the liability. Then we have made some significant progress from what we've seen recently. I'm not saying that what we've seen recently isn't good. It's just not to the point where he should be taking any liability on. Let's see. Without human supervision, this is only speculation, but I think we can achieve full self-driving, maybe what you would call 4 or 5 later this year. 4 or 5 what, Elon? SAE? But he did use the term SAE before. Here's a chart of what SAE is. The important terms are without human supervision and 4 or 5, although the latter, Musk doesn't seem to know what he's talking about. The driving automation levels are based on the SAE standards, which in this chart summarizes as well. And this is important here because there's another chart that's not SAE where level 4 is the highest level, which would be equal to SAE level 5. I was hoping I could click on it and make it bigger. All right, so SAE level 4. You are not driving when these automated driving features are engaged, even if you're seated in the driver's seat. So that's 3 through 5. 4 or 5. These automated driving features will not require you to take over driving. Whoa. So I was using just cruise control yesterday for a while. We came out of our grocery shopping, and it was just a terrible rainstorm, lightning, thunder. Um, it was dark enough that my headlights were on for most of it. I don't have the update that restores the ability that headlight lights on, wipers on, lights on. My car used to do this when it was new. My lights were on. If my wipers were on, the lights came on, and then sometime after FSD beta came out, it stopped doing it. But anyway, so it was dark enough that the lights came on their own, and it was so heavy for visibility that the fastest I could go on the freeway, speed limit 60 or 65, fastest I could drive was 30. And then there were some pockets of just like standing water where I had to cut it down to 20 miles per hour. And I turned on my rear fog lights because I could barely see the other folks' lights. I probably shouldn't have been driving at all, but I did. Um, some folks were smarter than me, and they pulled over on the shoulder, had their flashers going. Some folks were considerably less intelligent, and they were driving with the flashers on, which is illegal in Florida, and other places because driving with the flashers on for visibility is it's a confusing situation. That's why it's not legal. Um, anyway, so I had my rear fog lights on so that folks could actually see me, and when it started to clear up a little bit, it was still to the point where I could only do like 45. I turned on cruise control because I was on a part of the road with good drainage and enough room that if I missed a pocket of water and started to hydroplane, there was room to recover. The car was pretty smart about it. Even though just basic cruise control, it said, "Yeah, I'm only going to give you 45 for conditions." And then as the conditions got a little clearer, it gave me 50 and then 60. At one point, I thought it was clear enough for 65 in a 70, and the car said, "No, speed limited, cruise control speed limited for conditions." And at that point, it was enough that I felt that FSD was capable to drive. So I turned on FSD and was watching for road sheen to make sure that there were no puddles or whatever. But again, there was still room for me to recover it should something have gone terribly wrong. Also, I drive with the rear camera up all the time, and this is the first time I noticed my cross climate twos that I have on the car. They have a unique pattern. They're like triangles all the way across. Uh, the pattern they leave in the rain is even more interesting, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, so for us to be to the point where you are not required to take over when driving, I don't think. I mean, it'll happen faster than we expect, but we are not there yet. Like, I bet if I had tried to turn it on, it would kick back out and said, "Yeah, self-driving is not gonna do this. It's foolish to continue right here." Someone at SAE, watch. Tesla will release their own set of standards for self-driving too, and a FSDS. I can see them doing that. I thought you drive with them on in the rain in Miami. It's been changed because they've been there. No, no, it's against the law. Let's take a look real quick. Um, I'm starting with the search just for Florida. Uh, oh, they changed it. July 1st. What year was this? Now you can legally use your, but that's stupid. They should have left it the way it was. 2021. Also, some pandemic era thinking. Can now legally use their hazard lights on in the rain in most cases. Just 2 days before the new law would take effect, Governor DeSantis signed a transportation bill with the changes tucked in the middle of the text. According to the Florida Highway Patrol, Sunshine Law State no longer prohibits driving with flashers on in certain severe weather conditions on certain roadways. This went into effect Thursday, July 1st. Specifically, drivers can press that triangle button to activate the flashing lights when conditions create extreme low visibility while they're on the roads with speed limits at or above 55 miles an hour. Uh, Typically, you would only do this not for visibility, but because you're running extremely slow. Like if you're going up a mountain, you'll see the truckers do it, and you should also do it if you're like doing 35 and a 60. Let's see. Florida now joins more than 40 other states, allowing the use of hazard lights while driving in certain situations, according to AAA. However, if drivers feel unsafe when driving in severe weather, troopers say the safest option may be to pull over to the side of the road or off the road until conditions improve. Before July 1st, if a Florida driver had their hazard lights on, even during a downpour, they were driving illegally because it was dangerous. Let's see what the link leads to. Probably an older version of their article before the thing changed. Yeah. Okay. So it used to be driving with hazard lights on in Florida is illegal. With on and off rain forecast for the next several days, blah, blah, blah. According to Highway Patrol, if you have yours on while you're driving illegally. Hazard lights are meant for when your car is broken down or stopped on the side of the road. It's also a sign for first responders that you need first aid, but you must still still do your best to pull off as far of the road as possible to come to a complete stop. The only time it can be used while driving is if you are in a funeral procession. It would then be a signal to other drivers not to drive in between or interfere with the procession. Yeah, that one is a newer one right there. It used to be your high beams, but then I guess when DRLs came out, they said, "Oh, let's do it for the processions there as well." It still doesn't always help, but if you see 50 cars in a row with their flashes on, driving together, it's a signal something's going on. Otherwise, officials say operating with your, I guess the other reason is there are no mountains in Florida to be doing 30 to 60. Uh, can become a hazard to other drivers who may believe you have stopped or stalled on the side of the road. Yeah, this is the part right there. So I had to choose between the flashing lights in front of me. Were they moving or not moving? And if I thought they were moving and they were stopped, boom, they were creamed. Because Model X weighs, my Model X anyway, weighs 58 pounds. And we had it full of groceries and 3 people. So it weighed over 6,000 pounds. Let's see. May become a hazard to other drivers who may believe you're stopped or stalled on the road. It may make it more difficult for the other drivers to recognize whether the motorist is tapping on their brakes or using a turn signal. That's a uniquely American problem right there with our stupid red brake lights allowed garbage right there. Amber turn signals would make that a little clearer. Because if you're stepping on the brakes, they won't be yellow. Well, they could be white, but they won't be yellow. They could be white if your taillight lenses are broken, which they shouldn't be, but is common around here. Uh, Standard Florida. We decided this was no longer considered dangerous. Oh. They've never pulled over anyone since I was last there then. I saw a couple of people get pulled over for it. It wasn't common. I think in the entire, 8 years I was there, I only saw it twice. And it rained every day like clockwork, so I guess they just had other reasons and they wanted to just make it worse. "Ah, I got you for this, this, and this. Oh, and your seatbelt." Anyways, let's get back to what we were talking about. Let's just go back here to Elon thinking that you don't need the human. All right, so these are automated driving features. For level 4, these features can drive the vehicle under limited conditions and will not operate unless all required conditions are met. So that's SAE level 3 and 4. And that's where Honda and Mercedes have gone for marked roads, in Honda's case only in Japan, and Mercedes' case only certain roads, certain conditions in the States and Germany. Um, Such as a traffic jam chauffeur, which is exactly what they both did. So level 4 versus a traffic jam chauffeur would be local driverless taxi. So that would be Cruise Automotive, Waymo, and whoever else is doing this now, and eventually the cyber taxi or whatever they're going to call their thing, the driverless system with Tesla. Pedals and steering wheel may or may not be installed. That's where Elon was talking about removing the steering wheel and the pedals, putting a cap in their place. All right, so level 5 differs by this feature can drive the vehicle under all conditions. Snow, rain. Anytime a human would be driving the car, even if they have to go really slowly, the car would be doing it as well. Same as level 4, but the feature can drive the car everywhere in all conditions. So if Elon thinks we'll be there this year, I would like to see what version he's driving. Because it's not the one that Bennett and I have been driving around, that's for sure. Let's see. The most significant aspect of the jump from level 2 to 3 is the responsibility falls with the system and not with the driver, starting with level 3 and up. Meanwhile, the major difference between 4 and 5 is that the latter is supposed to be able to drive in any condition, anywhere. So their top comment is, I don't claim to be a technical person, but doesn't level 4 and 5 require redundant systems? Say a camera gets blocked by water or inclement weather, how does the car continue to drive in that scenario? So that's the beauty of AP 2.5 and up, is you have 2 cameras that can see every direction. Maybe not as well as the others, but there's overlap on all the cameras, except for the blind spot right in front of the car, the nose of the car to where the cameras pick up. And they each have 2 feeds. So assuming that the camera isn't destroyed, the camera feeds to computer A and computer B, or system A and system B. Same when the radar is there and active. Like my car, I go in there, the radar's still on. A buddy of mine, he's got a classic Model 3, not Legacy, just classic. His shows the radar still on. I don't think that they feed into the FSD system at all, but they're on and wasting power. And then you've got the two chips that were supposed to be redundant, but currently are not anymore. For a while, Green showed us where they were running the same workloads, but it hasn't been the case in many years. Like they might be able to take over for each other. They might be able to do reduced functionality, but on hardware 2.5 and 3, they're each taking a chunk of the workload. They're not able to run it in parallel like you have on, say, the Dragon capsule or the Falcon 9, where you've got 3 separate computers and they're all doing the exact same thing. And then if there's not a core room, they have to decide what to do. That is not what we have. But we do have some redundancy. Like on hardware 3 and 4, there's redundant power going into the system. So you can lose one half of the Model 3 or Y or Palladium cars, and they will still be able to have power to both chips. So there is redundancy there. It's just not necessarily aircraft grade redundancy. And that's what happens if one camera gets blocked. It'll just use the others. I believe roughly 0 Tesla since 2016 have been manufactured with redundant sensors. No, they have. 2016 is when they started. Late 2016 when Hardware 2 came out. But AP1 only had one camera. So there was no redundancy. The fact that Elon casually says 4 or 5 is maddening to me. Who wrote this? Fred? Fred. Maddening to me. It's such a massive difference. He should know better than to keep talking about level 5. He might genuinely believe that the car is going to be capable of doing this and this year. But that's why he should probably, work his team at this thing and then not say these things in public, getting people's hopes up, because one day he may forget to couch these things in forward-looking statements or I believes, and then expose them to a class action suit. And right now, FSD is selling for $15,000. That's a lot of exposure if you do it wrong. Technically, that's what he promised before, but I clearly think it's unachievable with current hardware. You just need to try to use autopilot in the snow and even heavy rain to see that you often get weather alerts about sensors being covered. Yeah, I did get that a couple times. Front cameras blinded. Usually I get a complaint about one or more of the fender cameras or one or more of the pillar cameras. But I rarely get front camera blinded, and it was just that much water. The front cameras were blinded. Let's see, even level 4 is questionable. FSD beta often asks the drivers to take over in seemingly good conditions. That's true. I can see level 3 happening for Tesla, but the company somehow doesn't seem to be interested in that. Well, I mean, they're not going to be the first to have claimed it, so why would they want to do that? I would like to be able to, be in a mode where the car says, "Hey, read a book, watch YouTube, whatever. I got you. I'll call you back when we're ready." That would make it worth 15 grand. But for it to just be like a wingman to have my back, it's not worth what they sell it for. And I have another article about that later in the show. We're already halfway through the year. Elon's timeline is literally a few months away. I can't believe I can confidently I can't believe it. He can confidently awkward sentence. I can't believe it. He can confidently keep claiming is happening. That is a poor sentence. I can't believe that he's saying these things. Basically, yeah. I believe you're correct that 4 and 5 require redundant sensors. What you're missing is the road conditions matter. 4 means that specific road conditions need to be met. For example, having a well-defined lane markings not covered in snow. Level 5 means it can drive in all conditions. Think gravel roads, roads with no markings, snow-covered roads, confusing or contradictory signing like construction or recent construction. Complex construction zones with flaggers or a pilot car, long one-lane bridges where you must yield to the car entering on the other end, etc. It's unlikely we'll ever see true 5 autonomy. I don't think so. That'll be soon. I'll agree. It might not be soon, but if humans can do it, there will almost certainly always be a scenario that the car can't drive it. There's that. There's that. In level 4, the conditions must be met could presumably mean that all cameras be working and unobstructed. So if a camera gets blocked, the car would drop out of level 4. Different from dropping out of level 3, which is more likely to be due to the car's software not knowing what to do, even with all hardware in perfect condition. I'll give you that one. According to the table in the article, no driver is required to take over, i.e., no one there to take over should the camera get blocked. Yeah, but at that point, you might not be required to take over, but the car is still required to do the right thing. Either A, see if you're there and able to take over, or B, you don't answer it when it asks you to take over, like requests. It doesn't have to say hot potato, but say, hey, I'm running out of room. We can't do this. Parking in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then it pulls over the shoulder, parks. That would meet the requirements. And then you can't turn it back on because it just quit because it's not, the conditions are no longer met to turn it on. And it says the blind spot right in front of the car is because they built it to drive like a human in a pickup truck. Yes. Yes. In a pickup truck, you can't see somebody right in front of you. Like, depending on how big the pickup truck is, you might be able to see an adult human standing right in front of you. But in most pickup trucks sold today, except maybe the Ford Maverick, but even that one still got a higher nose than the older trucks. You can't see shorter people like small humans, children. You can't see them standing right in front of your truck. And at that height, especially on Model X, that height, Tesla can't either. Not without ultrasonics and radar, which the new cars don't have. According to the table, that would likely have passengers who would then be stuck until the obstruction can be cleared or the problem rectified. Yeah, if they don't have licenses or the permission to operate the cars, like in the Waymo and Cruise cases, you're not allowed to jump in the car and take over. You have to wait for somebody to come get you. However, if it's your own car and you're in the driver's seat, even though it's no longer able to proceed, it doesn't mean that you can't proceed. Some years back, Elon was already talking about removing the steering wheel and pedals, so it's truly a level 4 Tesla. There'd be no way for a human passenger to take over. Yeah, there you'd be in a bit of a pickle. Like if it was a Tesla robotaxi. I think I'll be sticking with driver-operated public transit for a couple more decades. I say a couple more years. I'm thinking maybe 5 years at the most. Let's see. So there'd be a lot of times without passengers, just like taxis. Yeah. If sensors is obstructed, will the car stop on the motorway until the passenger climbs into the driver's seat? Mm. 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 So we've got a little bit of healthy debate on how this will all play out, but Elon seems to think it's ready this year. We'll see. Does Tesla still have a driver in the Boring Company tunnel in Las Vegas? Yeah, they do. Pretty easy to. Oh, you're onto something there, Tom Power. So Elon could be talking about the Boring Tunnel. If they go level 4 in the tunnel, oh, you're onto something. Pretty easy test case. Single lane, no weather, consistent lighting, and the same path every time except for parking. I like that. Wow. I took it at CES. The driver told me they tried FSD in the tunnels and it kept crashing. Okay, I guess it's not ready yet, but as Tom said, it's an easy one to solve. It's a closed environment. That part, as Jeff says, due to the narrow, unforgiving path of the Las Vegas Boring Company tunnels, Tesla will keep trying to get FSD beta to work within the edge case, and then when they get right, so it doesn't crash in this, it'll be another hard task the FSD beta team will have to overcome. Yeah, yep. Whoa, my mouse got hypersensitive for a second. Oh no, it didn't. It's stalling. I moved it and it cleared the screen. Let me turn it off and back on. I charged it the other day, so it's not low power. It's a Mac thing, I think. All right, so I'm glad I saw that little staff thing and read that. That might be a way around. That might be a way around it. All right, so let's go on to the next article here. It's an opinion piece. I think that you all might agree with this, or at least some of you will. So Jameson Dow suggests that car makers don't need EV divisions. The whole company should go electric now. I agree with that statement. Electrify all the things. Um, the thing with these EV divisions is that in the US, the earliest no combustion mandate is 2030. Same for Norway. Norway moved theirs from 2035 to 2030. Then the next largest cohort is in 2035. Then you've got a group that come in at 2040. And then by 2050, most countries will have assuming that politics don't change anything, by 2050, most countries have a mandate for no combustion. And then by 2065, Saudi Arabia has required no combustion. They want EVs only by then. It's 2023 now, and a typical car cycle is 6 to 7 years. We've only got 7 years for that earliest group, plus another 5 for the majority of the early group. There's literally one US state in Norway at 2030. That means you're on your last cycle. The car needs to be done before 2023 is over. And you can't make another one in time. You can do one more if you consider 2035 to be your drop dead date. That's why we have companies like Volvo saying, "Hey, they're done with ICE." We have companies like Tesla who never made ICE. Polestar is electric only. Rivian, Lucid, but these are all new ones except for the Volvo. You've got other companies doing their last hurrah for ICE. They're doing like, this is our special mega FSP fuel sucking pig badass motor division. Like, we're gonna make 1,000 horsepower in a gas engine. That's gonna be our last one, and we're gonna cancel it after this. Going out with a shebang. But if you see this, then you don't need an EV division. You need to be all in on EVs, just like Volvo. Let's see. Over the years, we've seen several car companies tout their decision to create an EV division within the company, a group tasked specifically with looking into EV technology and how to implement that within the product line. You've got 7 years till the first deadline. Oh, you can do it shorter. It's more expensive to do it. You can do it shorter. We've seen as low as 2 years for a new car to come out. But remember, if you don't make EVs already, you can't just slightly massage something and put it on a stretch, change out which motor and which battery go in it, and then call it a day. It's not to say you can't do it in 2 years. It's not cost effective to do it in 2 years, just like we talked about with not cost effective to maintain that number of batteries all around the country for a battery swap. You're going to lose massive amounts of money on a car that you make go full EV and good in 2 years. So if you use a regular 7-year, 6-year cycle, if you don't start in January to have this car come out in 2030, your company is toast. Okay, maybe you won't sell it in that state. I don't know if it's Washington or Oregon. It's not California. Okay, so you won't sell cars in that state or Norway. You have just 5 more years on top of that to get something ready to go. So you have 3 years to figure out what you're gonna do, and then you have 1 car cycle to have something ready in time. For 2035 is most of the world. 2040 is not that much longer than that. And the 2040 countries, they they don't buy as many cars as the 2035 countries, I assure you. So if you're not ready this year with the other thing is 1 car enough? Most of these companies only make 2 or 3 new cars per cycle. Can you survive your company on 2 or 3 car models this cycle? Ford can say, "Hey, we have the Lightning," or whatever replaces it. Yeah, the F-150 is our best-selling vehicle, and we've covered all the F-150 trims and variants. Okay, good. So Ford will survive, has the potential to survive. Chevy, I don't really actually remember what their best-selling vehicle is. But if they've covered that, then is it enough? Toyota has 0 useful EVs on the market right now. Why do I say 0 useful? The BZ can't charge below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, or actually even approaching 0 degrees Fahrenheit. If your customers can't take a road trip in your car in all the normal weather conditions they'll experience, it snows in Japan, it gets hot in Japan. You should have a car that works in your own home country. But anyway, if a customer can't take a trip all year round in your car, assuming it's not like an evacuation condition, then you failed your customer. And they might not do their due diligence, and they might get cheated by you and buy your car that they can't use in the wintertime or they can't use in the summertime. Nissan Leaf, it gets hot in Japan. The original Nissan Leaf, the battery didn't last in Arizona, South Carolina, Georgia, Southern California because it couldn't handle the heat. Parts of Japan, I'm sure, also had the problem with the non-lizard batteries. I just didn't get any articles coming my way about Japanese Leafs having the problem. Um, if a customer can't use your car year-round and it's their only transportation, you may cheat them into buying it without due diligence because they had good experience with you in the past. You're done once they find out that you've cheated them. The first person that's going on a family Christmas trip or winter holiday trip in the BZ4X, and they're in Canada, and they're trying to get just down the street, and well, it's gonna be more than down the street, enough that they need a fast charge, but they can't. They'll never buy another Toyota again. So you can't say we have an electric car, we're gonna be fine. That electric car doesn't cover all of your customer base. The price is wrong. The fact that it can't operate in all conditions is wrong. It's not big enough for some of your customers. It's too big for others. You're gonna need at least 4 models to cover most of your customer base in the next cycle. Okay, so they normally do 3 cars at a time, up to 3 cars at a time. Okay, you can squeeze a 4th one in and say, "All right, we've survived." Not every car company can do that, and certainly not if you have an EV division, unless, again, you are gonna miss out on that first US state and Norway. But then that really puts a crunch on you to get it by 2035 when the bulk of these come online. Let's see what else they have to say here. Many times this can still be counterproductive. With an EV shift happening now, companies need to stop thinking about EV divisions and go all in on EV development today. Another good example is look at Volkswagen. Look at how much trouble they had getting their software ready to go. It cost them a lot of sales. Look at the recent comments by Jim Farley talking about how many different vendors and how many different programming languages and how many different programs they have in each of their, a minimum of 150 different modules in their car that make it difficult for them to make their own software to the point that they've decided they're going to vertically integrate and write their own software for their cars. Smart move. Last week, the news of Toyota establishing a new EV role in North America. Toyota might have enough money to just blast this thing out. They might be able to do this. They also have a little bit of a head start in that they have the Prius and all the primes. They're not unfamiliar with batteries and electric motors. Again, to profitably design a vehicle the way they've always been doing it, 6 to 7 years. It certainly could signal a change that Toyota has somewhat softened its anti-EV stance in the recent years, notably with the resignation of its former CEO and replacement with a purportedly more pro-EV successor. Now, um, or Volvo, somebody else had said, "Oh yeah, in Europe we're going to be all EVs by 2035." You don't have a choice. You have to be all EV in 2035, or you go out of business. So if you say anything other than that, your shareholders are going to massacre you. It's not going to be pretty. Um, but to say that, we're going to comply with the law in Europe by 2035, yeah, you should always be in compliance with the law as a company. Continuing on. Uh, Sometimes these EV divisions turn into an attempt to silo EV thinking in a part of the company that can be easily ignored. Yep. For example, BMW had a early lead on EVs with the original Mini E and Active E projects. They did. Gordon, leading into the BMW i3, which would have been a great Mini, was not a great BMW. One of the first ground-up EVs developed by any company. The i3 and i8 were part of BMW's Project I division, a separate unit meant to focus on electric mobility. And the i8 was a beautiful car, but also very flawed. The division languished under CEO Harold Kruger, who came to the company with a mission to improve the BMW EV projects, but met resistance from the company's executives and was unable to make progress on that front, leading to his resignation in 2019. Yeah, if you are hired for a job and they won't let you do your job, why stay there? Uh, in this case, having a separate division made it easier for the company to continue its old ways of thinking without integrating electrification fully into the product line. It doesn't have to be like this. Ford did a similar thing when it split off a separate Team Edison to focus on EV programs. I guess Team Edison became Model E to focus on EV programs and worked quite well. Ford shipped the Mustang Mach-E only about 4 years after Team Edison was established, impressively quick in terms of of vehicle development timelines, which are generally around 5 to 7 years long. Yeah, you can still have 5 year cycles and be normal, but most companies at 6 to 7. Uh, but Ford's effort needed to be stronger given where we are in the timeline of industry electrification and where companies need to be by the next decade. 60% EV by 2030 means companies must plan for the majority EV now. Yes. All right, let's look at their top comment. I think they probably are more than you think. As you say, development is on a 7 year lag, so companies that are currently planning for what is going to be produced in the late 2020s and early 2030s. The majority of manufacturers don't announce every product decision, research outcome years before it's ready for actual development. This is true. They may announce that some car models, but those are relatively short term, i.e., using current tech rather than in development tech. That's very wishful thinking from what we've seen from the likes of Toyota. Look at the VW Group. We know that they have both the PPE and MEB Plus platforms in development for release in the next couple of years. BMW has the new Klaus, and those are just the first two that come to mind. I bet you that they have other long-term ongoing research projects for the generation after that too. No one other than these companies know the planned product production, drivetrain specs, the rate at which the companies are planning to pivot from ICE to EV behind the scenes, or anything else. We're coming from a period of heavily constrained resources where there's lots more battery manufacturing plants on the way. ICE factories are being retooled to produce EVs. The pace is only going to get faster from here. It's one thing to say the companies need to go all in on EVs now. They probably do. But it's another to imply they aren't when so much of their future development work is kept in secret. However, hello, Moto. What's going on? You looking at your shadow? Yeah. You want to say hi to everybody? This way. Hello, Moto. Are you hoping they get it right so you have clean air to breathe? Fresh water, not full of chemicals? Yeah. Say, come on. You don't want to say anything? Say hi. Hello, Moto. Aw, she blow kisses. Aw. Do it for her. Yeah. Stripes? Yeah, I got stripes on. And we're talking about why these companies need to go EV now. So we've talked about how Toyota, they're pinning their hopes on hydrogen and solid state batteries, and solid state batteries have been coming almost as long as hydrogen's been coming. Is it possible that they have stuff on the rack ready to go just in case? Yes. Do we have valid reason for concern based on what they've shown us over the years? Yes. And as I said, they have the pockets to actually make this work by just brute force, but not every company does. We're going to lose some more of these legacy companies as this comes forward. So look at this one. The Blazer SS is postponed until next year, but the regular Blazer is on track for on time. It is. Make faces at me. Oh, and then the reason I picked this version of the article instead of other people's is they had pretty pictures of the Blazer. Is this the SS? Yes. Let's take a look at these pretty pictures of the Blazer SS. Oh, they got rid of their scroller thing. I mean, it looks fun. It doesn't look me because I'm not into all these buttons on my dashboard. But I mean, look at that. It's not bad. So it was originally expected to go on sale this fall with a starting price of $65,996. However, Chevy recently updated their website, spotted by GM Authority, with the SS model now expected to be available in the spring of 2024. That's not too far of a delay either. Top comment was, "We're now in Q3 of 2023, and GM Ultium battery and vehicle production remains." Yeah? Da? Da. Mm, mm. Oh, you want your headphones? Here, here. It's just me talking, though, so you don't need them. You can't read for when everybody types something. Here you go. Yeah, so we're now in 2023, and GM Ultium. Yeah, see, I knew you weren't going to wear them. You may be getting ready for what? You just want to look at them? Oh, you thought Mark was there to talk to you? Mark shows on Wednesdays. That's a cute smile. Where was I? Oh yeah, so GM Ultium platform and the battery production seems negligible. This is rapidly becoming a worst case scenario for them, and that's another thing about that previous article is that a lot of these companies don't have the suppliers or their own supply of materials ready. Bennett says, someone told me in a Facebook group the other day that they would get bored on long drives with the cleaner dash of a Y. I wondered, what is he looking at usually with other than the road? That's a good question. Because let's go to the driver view here. And this still has less buttons than many fossils. Not necessarily a Cadillac, for instance, but you got all these on the wheel, which you're not looking at because your hands are on it. You're driving. You've got these back here, which you shouldn't be touching unless there's an emergency, because one is traction control and one's like a winter slip mode. One's your defroster, it appears. You've got a bunch of vents. You don't need to look at your vents. With a ventless system on the model, Y and 3 and the Palladiums is pretty cool. Heads-up display would be nice. The "Are you paying attention" indicator would be useful, but on the new Teslas, it's the top of your screen, so that's fine. The radio, yeah, you shouldn't be looking at the radio all that much. And if you're already looking at it, you're already taking your eyes off the road. So the Y's got that. The climate control, uh, it's auto. So what are you doing with the climate control? You need to see it while you're driving on the road. I I agree, Bennett. That conversation does seem to apply here. And also, what the heck is he looking at? What is the guy looking at? Or gal? What is your friend looking at? Stickers? That's a good idea. They might be looking at stickers. Huh? Yeah? Oh. Yeah, well, they might be looking at stickers, Mo. That's a good idea. Because they got all the stuff on the dashboards. There are some stickers there. Oh, you just missed the window. All right. I like that answer, baby. They're looking at stickers, Bennett. Motor knows all the answers. Yeah, this is the microphone, the interface. Microphone's here. It comes into this box and it goes into the computer. Yeah. Hey. I'm gonna unplug your headphones since you're not wearing them, okay? There we go. I should have told him to bring a book. Yes. Stickers, great idea. Bennett likes your idea of stickers, baby. Huh? That what? That's a window. Is there anybody outside the window? I don't see anybody. I see a bush. You looking at the bush? Oh, you see your Teddy Grahams. Yeah, we're not gonna snack right now. Oh, you went down. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't give her any snacks, so she's gone. Down. There you go, baby. Okay, she said, "Don't tell." Bye bye. Oh, bye bye. Huh? Moto. Monaco. Oh, thank you. She walked around the corner and then she blew some kisses where I couldn't see her. Thought I offended her. She walked off. She did wave though. All right, so where were we? So the two Blazers that are coming out now are the 2LT and the RS, and they'll be fine at the end of the year. Well, the production line last week. The electric SUV is expected to be available by the end of summer. There we go. So not even by the holidays. All right, so this is an update. We talked about the Nikola truck fire situation last week or the week before, and we suggested that it was not arson or foul play. And a couple of whistleblowers suggested that Nikola was using bad batteries in their truck, like ones with perforations. And as we know, contaminants or perforations, not the same thing, but those two things have caused fires in previous automobiles, starting with Hyundai Kia Group a couple times, ending with uh, the uh, the Bolt family. And the whistleblowers suggest that the Neo either, sorry, Neo, Nikola, sorry, no slander meant for Neo, Nikola. They suggest that either Nikola overlooked or was just too gung ho and optimistic about with their supplier, which later became an internal division when they bought the company, about them saying that they solved the problem and didn't verify, or perhaps more sinisterly that they put in known faulty cells and hoped it wouldn't be a problem. But as they showed us during testing, the connections were corroding on the test bench. Corrosion leads to increased resistance. Increased resistance leads to heat. Heat can and often does lead to fire. And the chemistries of lithium-ion batteries we have today have their own oxidizer in them. So once they get to thermal runaway and start catching fire. Their neighbors start catching fire, and then your vehicle is toast. All the fire department can do is cool it down to the point where it can no longer sustain the reaction. And at that point, your vehicle's got water damage. So, what some fire departments have taken to doing is if there's no danger to life and property, they'll let the vehicle burn. A couple of other fire departments that we've seen in Europe, they will take the vehicle and dunk it in a dunk tank. That's going to be significantly harder to do with a Class 8 truck, but it's not to say it's impossible, assuming that the Class 8 truck fits in a container. And I don't know that it does, because it pulls containers. Um, Baby, mommy brought sandwiches. Did you get your sandwich yet? Oh, you're gonna have milk? All right, well, go enjoy your milk, baby. Have a good nap, because after she eats her milk, she passes out. All right, so the Phoenix Fire Department has released a report, or its report, on the Nikola truck fire that happened on the company's headquarters last month. Despite Nikola quickly claiming that foul play was behind the fire, the fire department says that it found no evidence at all that supports arson. None. The fire department listed the cause of the fire as undetermined. So undetermined and not arson means it was internal to the truck, and that they either didn't or wouldn't look in to see where in the truck that the fire came from. So that could be something sitting in the truck that caught fire. Somebody tipped over a diesel heater or something. Not that these things have that. Or that the whistleblower was right and these things self-immolated. Undetermined. They didn't attach anything to that undetermined in this reporting on the report. On June 23rd, the Phoenix Fire Department confirming that 5 Nikola semi-trucks caught fire at its headquarters. The company was quick to tell the public that it believed foul play was involved in the fire, but it didn't have a lot of evidence to back the claim. It only mentioned that a vehicle was spotted on the scene prior to the fire. And then several people pointed out that with this value of equipment, there should be surveillance of the lot, either via security guards or CCTV or something. And since we didn't suddenly see footage of a brown SUV fleeing the scene with these guys clad in green camo gear and lighters, that probably didn't happen. And the fire department corroborates that line of thinking that that didn't happen. If you have investments in Nikola, be careful with them. I'd like to see this product succeed. The Nikola Tre, the electric semi. I could care less about their hydrogen stuff. I would hope that they find a way to make green hydrogen work if they're going to keep on the hydrogen trail. But again, I'm not counting out hydrogen, but it's not anything I'm hanging my hat on. I'm not going to say it'll never work, but as configured today, it doesn't work. So on top of that, we found out last week that Nikola had a major defect in the battery module produced by Romeo Power for the Tre power truck, or for the Tre electric truck. Battery cells were being punctured as part of the welding process. Nikola acknowledged it was aware of the problem, but it claimed that based on what Romeo told them, that is it Romeo or Romeo? I've been saying Romeo the whole time. Either way, the company seemed to be setting the stage to put the blame on Romeo, even though it acquired the battery maker last year. You can still do that. This was done by prior management, blah, blah, blah. We didn't know. They changed the process when we got there. Yeah, my sugar's low. That's why I'm stumbling. Electric reached out to the Phoenix Fire Department, which said the case is still open on their side. When asked if it was due to Nikola's claim of foul play, the police spokesperson said, fire department still determines the cause of manner of the fire, arson investigators will look into any evidence available, such as videos, survivable witness tips that come in. Overall, the investigation will continue as detectives work with insurance companies to determine any and all outcomes. When arson investigators complete their investigation, they will determine if criminal behavior took place or not. So it sounds like undetermined may not be done, perhaps. How many sandwiches does this lady make me? Update. A Nicholas spokesperson repeated the same thing last week about not ruling out anything. Again, I'm not claiming I know for a fact that a battery defect caused the fire, is Electric's take. What I am saying is we know for a fact that Nikola had a major defect in the battery modules produced by Romeo for its trucks. And now we also know that the fire department has found no evidence of arson. Top comment says, Occam's razor. The correct answer is usually the simplest, which fully explains all the known facts. Faulty battery modules. Fact. A truck caught fire and the fire spread. Fact. Evidence has come out that serious faults in some of Romeo's packs. Fact. The fire department has found no evidence of any accelerant or anything else which points to arson. Conclusion. It's far, far more likely to be a manufacturing fault which caused the fire than arson. And Nikola continuing to plug the foul play theory may ultimately be worse for them than simply coming clean early. After Milton's lies, they need badly to put people to get people to trust them, and this is not the look that they need. Absolutely. Also, a recall will cost them a lot of money. Hopefully, they have insurance for it. But they've sold a number of these trucks. At least 50 of them are on the road, if I'm understanding and remembering correctly. That's putting life and property at risk, because what do they do with these trucks? You have a driver, a human driver, that drives them places, hauling thousands to millions of dollars of equipment on the back. It would be wise to find the true reason that these things are on fire. And if it is a manufacturing defect, it'd be wise to do a better job of tracing down what happened, or it's going to be costly. Do the right thing, recall all the trucks, and inspect to make sure that they don't have the corrosion or punctures. And if they don't, send them on their way. And if they do, repair and replace them. Because they are not going to succeed in what worked for Hyundai and GM, and didn't really work for them. Oh well, it's just some cars. Park it outside. Blah blah blah. All right, we've released some software to determine if it works. Blah blah blah. All right, well now we're going to replace all the packs. Since you own the battery company now, bring them all back in, or send out your techs if they can safely get into the pack and see the cells. And I don't think they can. The way that most of these industrial batteries are built, I don't think they will be able to see the cells. But if it's possible, send your tech out there and do an inspection. And say, all right, this unit, that unit, even if it's all the units, they have to come back for recall. We have to replace the packs. If this plays out too far, and that is the case, this company is beyond toast rather than just running on the edge like they have been their entire lifetime since Trevor lied to us about the truck driving under its own power while it was really falling down a mountain. Right, so this one has changed since I first found it. New Jersey's first offshore wind farm hits a milestone. It's one, and one county is fighting all of it. Monopolies for sorry, the first monopile for Ocean Wind 1, New Jersey's first offshore wind farm, has been built at a New Jersey manufacturing facility, and Cape May County isn't happy about any of it. July 6th update. An even bigger milestone occurred yesterday. The U.S. Department of the Interior announced the approval of the construction and operation of Ocean Wind 1 project. So that okays 98 turbines and up to 3 offshore substations. It's slated to be finished in 2025. It's all systems go. Um, so let's see. That county, I saw some spillouts because my phone didn't realize where I was a couple times, and I'm sure that their advertising filters were set wrong, and they kept telling me to vote against this thing, and I'm like, no, I love offshore wind power as long as it's done safely. So there we go. It's in play. This one, okay. So there's one in between these I was going to skip, and I did. I closed it already. But this one is pretty cool. I've got Enphase on my house. Enphase microinverters versus a traditional inverter where you've got the DC coming from all of your panels either into junctions or straight into an inverter. Uh, my microinverters go into a junction and then straight into the house as 240-volt AC, split phase. And what's cool about this for me is that not only are these first US made microinverters, they're made just an hour and change down the road in Colombia versus us here in Charleston. So that's pretty cool. So in April, Enphase, which supplies microinverter-based solar and battery systems, announced it would begin manufacturing products in the US. They tell you what a microinverter is. Fremont, California-based Enphase first contract manufacturing facility is Austin headquartered manufacturer Flex's South Carolina, factory. With all three facilities, Enphase expects to have the capacity to produce 4.5 million microinverters per quarter, or 18 million microinverters per year. So that's enough for 18 million panels per year because you use 1 micro per panel. I have seen other competitors use 1 micro per 3 or 2 panels, which is pretty cool, but typically you just do 1 under each panel, string them up together. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that was all I had to say on that. Speaking of solar at home, Tesla electric customers report making as much as $150 per day in the Texas heat waves. So Tesla electric customers in Texas are making as much as 150 per day in the heat waves as Tesla's virtual power plant is coming together with 6 megawatts of power. Instead of reacting to specific events, providing services to your local electric utilities, Tesla Powerwall owners have done in VPPs in California. Tesla Electric is actively and automatically buying and selling electricity for Powerwall customer owners. The company is essentially becoming an energy retailer. So basically, auto bidder all the time at home, but with your smaller capacity in power walls versus you need to buy a power pack, or now, since you can't buy the power pack, a mega pack, which most individuals won't have the money to buy a mega pack or space to put it or service to service it. Because mega packs are expensive and huge. The mega pack is a 20-foot equivalent container, I believe, and then you know it's got the inverters and everything's self-contained. But at the $1.7 million in volume we saw, mm, yeah, not everybody can afford that. I'm telling you about it, and where is? There we go. So some Tesla Powerwalls on the electric program reported making as much as $150 a day selling electricity back to the grid. Jonathan Blackburn shared a screenshot from the Tesla electric customer on LinkedIn showing that what they were selling electricity at $5 per kilowatt hour. Oh my goodness. So you made 506.7 cents in a 6-hour period. Real-time energy price. Okay, so as the price is going up, they're just matching and selling. Discharge trigger price is 400 cents per kilowatt hour. The site exporting to the grid is green. So when the price was low, he was keeping the power at home, except for that little dot right there. And then as it went up, he went up with it. As it went down, he tracked it because it was above his sale price. There you go. Clayton Meeker says, "Hey, that's me. Thanks for spreading the word, Fred. It was a really fun day at the office. That's for sure." There he is, Clayton Meeker. Tesla Electric Planet going wild today. This is the whole reason I signed up. Should be an interesting few hours / summer. Let's look at all his pictures here. So the Meeker house, getting 7.1 kilowatts of solar. The house is using 600 watts. So 10 kilowatts, 69% power wall. 2 power walls of 69% state of charge. 16.5 kilowatts to the grid. Wow. 49.1 kilowatt hours generated today. 67% self-power today. Utility is Tesla Electric. Get your settings, and you got the go off grid button. Yeah, you wouldn't want to go off grid while they're paying you. Energy price 230 cents. Selling started 4 hours and 6 minutes ago. 380 cents a kilowatt hour. 190 cents a kilowatt hour. Same discharge trigger price for 200. Size exporting energy to the grid. Tesla Electric members 6.981 kilowatts. Tesla sustainable power is 20.3 kilowatts. The Meeker house is capable of exporting 12 kilowatts, and they sent 7 megawatts to the grid. There you go. Nifty. Congratulations, Mr. Clayton. Anybody know if this is available in California? It is not. They started VPP in California. I don't know the details, but it's in its infancy. How much has it cost the taxpayers for what you've got? What? Hey, Bill, respectfully, there's a 30% federal ITC. Yeah, everybody's got that. Increased and extended with Inflation Reduction Act, assuming the taxable liability to take advantage. My company installed my system, and they gave me a great deal, reducing the price and tax credit. The government has no money. Every dollar spent by the federals. Bill is the only man on earth who pays taxes. That's a solar panel. People checking their app from 3 to 8 p.m. Yes, exactly. Clayton says smiles and laughs. That's incredible. I believe Elon first saw this years ago and has been preparing for it. He's always steps ahead of everyone. Sometimes he is. Does that say $230 per kilowatt hour, or am I reading that wrong? It looks like it. One more look and it couldn't hurt. Come back tomorrow afternoon for a new show. 518 cents. Yikes. That's incredible. Keeping your neighbors online and getting paid well for it. I'll take it. What's up, Timothy? Good to see you. We were just talking about plugs and all the latest e-news, and now we're talking about how the Texas Tesla energy customers are making mad money for the summer. Let's see. That is incredible. All right. So we talked earlier in the year or end of last year how the Model Y had broke a record set by the VW Beetle in, I believe, Norway. Watch me be wrong, it'd be Sweden. But either way, they broke a 1-year sales record for the VW Beetle, and they've done it again, this time in Iceland, which, let's see, this one was the Corolla, and they had previously sold in 1 year a 35-year-old record in Iceland for most cars sold in a year. Where is it? Which was the Toyota Corolla with just over 1,200 deliveries back in 1988. And so in just 6 months, the Model Y has made that history. Money is good. Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially since they're always reaching into our pockets. Nice of them to put something back instead. Oh, come on. Tesla, always with the music. So it's just a Model Y shot. It was held for 35 years. The Toyota Yaris almost beat it in 2006, but it took an electric SUV to beat it in just 6 months. Iceland has put in incentives for electric car rental companies to update their fleet with electric vehicles, making it easier to drive electric for people visiting. Nice. I've been to Iceland and the landscape is breathtaking. Driving those scenic roads in an EV must be a great feeling. Now, if they can plant back all the trees they took away in the past centuries, they might become carbon negative. Perhaps. Seems every 3 to 5 years, Toyota announces a new solid-state battery breakthrough, which is why I never report on them. I think that they hope no one remembers it. Meanwhile, Tesla keeps eating their lunch. Toyota outsold Tesla in 2022 in the US and on the planet. So they lost here and in Australia their records, like to the point where like Australia, they already had their signs printed up about how they won, and they had to put a caveat in there about how you know so that their win for the Camry was still there. They could reuse the signs. Thank you. Okay. Have a good walk, baby. Yeah, you. Yeah, you going for a walk? All right. Have fun. She waves like this. All right. As more capable competitors appear, Toyota's lead will slow down a bit. Surely they are dominant in many places. Okay, so you're comparing apples and oranges here. Toyota sold fossils to outsell Tesla. They did not outsell Tesla in EVs. This person seems to think that before long, Toyota will be making reliable, affordable EVs. A lot of middle-income folks ignored by most of the industry. So they also fall into a fallacy right here in that they think that everybody's EVs are expensive. There are expensive EVs out there. However, you can get a Nissan Leaf. You can get a Toyota Model 3. Just no trim level. Just Tesla Model 3. Uh, you can get a Bolt. There are plenty of EVs available that are below the average selling price of the American car. Leaf, Model 3, Bolt. And if you're looking to spend the average selling price of a vehicle in the US, you can get a various Model Y trims. The CUV is the most popular item to buy as a car these days, and the Model Y is the best single unit of all of them. Depending on how you measure it, you can get the F-150, but worldwide, it's the Model Y. So this person is a Toyota fan, clearly. No, I don't own a Toyota. Not to say I didn't, I want Toyota to succeed. I had a Prius. I worked for a Toyota dealership for a while. And of course, it's not as though Elon has misled us a time or two or 10. Um, so Elon gets stuff wrong as a reason to not buy the car. I just spent how many minutes talking about how he doesn't understand that he should stop talking about FSD being done this year? Oh yeah, Mini and the Soul and the Kona. Yeah, I forgot about them, and they refreshed them recently too. Yeah, so the Soul and the Kona, the Mini, and the Smart. I think the Smart might not be ridiculously priced as well. And the 500e when it comes back to this country, 2024, 2025. Toyota announced 2,000 miles solid state battery in less than 2 minutes. Yeah, I can see them announcing that, but will they get it? No. 2054 or 2055, Toyota announced 2,000 miles solid state battery goes into production. What? They've been announcing this thing forever. It has never gone into production. Even with that timeline, it might still beat the Cybertruck and Roadster to market. That's not realistic either. Cybertruck is late. However, with the Texas plant going on its maintenance shutdown for the Model Y line, the employees were given an option: leave, like not leave, but like take leave, or work on the Cybertruck. I don't know what kind of crossover skills these folks have as vehicle assemblers. I don't imagine there's a lot of crossover between assembling and engineering to the point where they would have just an open call for whoever wants to do the work to do anything other than assemble Cybertrucks. I don't know if this is a rough build or prototyping, not really prototyping, but ready for the crash testing and that sort of thing, or if these are the full done production runs. But you wouldn't pay this number of people on a product that's not imminent, especially when you don't want to pay for telephones in service department. Just saying, the Tesla is quite a cheap company to the point where they're not going to waste money on salaries that are unnecessary. So if they're spending the money to pay these people, then the product is real. It's not out yet, but it's real. Great for Iceland to have a network of superchargers for a population of 350,000. Yeah, they've got superchargers all around the country. They cover the Ring Road. The big island of Hawaii has 220,000 people and not a single supercharger. One would think that just one supercharger could be squeezed out of Tesla. Yeah. Yeah, you would think so. Anyway, let's move on before we get into the snarky people. So as much as I've been complaining about Toyota today, Toyota shareholders have raised concerns over Tesla's EV lead, and here is the company's response. Are we going to hold our breath? I wouldn't hold my breath. Toyota shareholders concerned over Tesla's EV lead. On two positive sides of the EV spectrum, you have Tesla, which sells 100% electric vehicles, and Toyota, which has been one of the biggest laggards, if not the biggest regarding pure EVs. Tesla delivered a record 140 electric vehicles in the second quarter of 2023, putting that almost a million for the year. The EV Pioneer has delivered 888,000 units through the first half of the year. Save me from doing the math. And needs less than 1 million deliveries to hit its 1.8 million goal by the end of the year, which, as we've seen, quarter one and quarter two are generally lower production and sales than quarter three and quarter four. So unless something happens, something bad happens, they should hit that with ease. Meanwhile, over 415 million vehicles Toyota sold globally in first half 2023, only a fraction, 0.19%, were purely electric. 0.19%. Not even 1% of the Toyotas were electric. To put that in perspective, in most of the markets where I could find the numbers, we're looking at a minimum of 1 to 2% of the entire country, countries in question, that are EV sales. And then, as I think we're going to cover in another article, some countries did way better than that, like Norway. Let's see where we are. 0.19%. As shareholders raised concern over Tesla and its dominant lead with EVs, several leaders were quick to point out that Toyota's hybrid approach, including hybrid and fuel cell vehicles, are a strategy that has already set them behind industry competitors. Leaders. So I'm guessing these are not Toyota leaders. Despite its resistance to going all electric, the Japanese automaker has introduced several new ideas to accelerate its BEV strategy, including several of them directly from Tesla's playbook, such as greater efficiency, Set Hearts Racing, BEV. That's an attractive looking car in silhouette. In May, the company's new CEO, Koji Sato, said the automaker was developing a new platform designed exclusively for BEVs and expected to launch in 2026. Cutting it close, guys. And then last month, Toyota shared a few new technologies and processes which it was working on to transform the company in the electric era, including incorporating a simple body structure through gigacasting and processes used by Tesla to reduce the number of pieces needed to make a car. Okay. Monroe's been screaming about gigacastings for decades now, and Tesla's been doing it now for, 3-4 years? Ford and GM started gigacasting major components of the car, but not whole pieces of it. I guess not gigacasting, megacasting, large casting. Toyota plans to integrate advanced aerodynamics. They should have been doing that since the Prius. Next generation EV batteries, they should have been doing that all along. The company claims that will drastically improve. Oh no, they're talking about solid state again. Keep going. The BZ4X range compared to the BZ4X while slashing prices, production costs by 2027. They should be doing that all the time, slashing production costs as a company, even if they don't pass the sales on. President of Toyota's BEV factory in Takiro Kato explained to shareholders, "I love BEVs. Through BEVs, I want to change the future of cars." Monzo Kuri and work. Okay. First, he claims that Toyota aims to produce EVs with the same cruising range as its hybrid vehicles, which I think I've mentioned previously. That's an impressively large range, and that most cars don't actually touch that range. Not most hybrids, but just most cars don't have that kind of radius that they can go. If they can do it with, as we saw with Neo, with their solid state battery being cheaper and shorter, then sure. But again, just like Elon has said, FSD is coming this year a bunch of times. Toyota has said that solid state batteries are 3 to 5 to 6 to 10 years off enough times that I don't believe them either. I'm not saying that they're lying to us. I'm just saying that I wouldn't hold my breath in either scenario, because they could be just like Elon, just getting super like, oh wow, it worked. All right, now let's scale it up, and then oh, it didn't scale up. Anyway, a longtime Toyota leader who stepped down from position early this year said, "I don't know if love can beat Tesla." What? However, cars made by engineers who love them will move people's hearts. Okay, so he's trying to fire up his troops. Toyota aims to sell 1.5 million EVs in 2026, with 10 new electric models, including luxury, small cars, and commercial. Wait. So in 3 years, they want to sell 1.5 million cars. Wow. Tesla's going to sell 1.8 million cars this year. Hmm. You got to do better than that if you want to stay the leaders in volume. They plan to produce their first U.S. assembled EV, a 3-row electric SUV, at its plant in Georgetown, Kentucky. That's an awesome plant. I had a chance to tour it, and I liked it. I mean, it was the Camry plant. If not, then it was. I don't think they have a Michigan plant. I was on a Michigan trip when I saw that, so. Toyota shareholders know the answer, and that's why they are raising concerns over Tesla. Top comment. It's just crazy how Toyota squandered what could only be described as a commanding lead in electrification and allowed themselves to be overtaken not just by Tesla, but by most large legacy automakers as well. Continuing to rely on proven and practical hybrid cars could easily be forgiven or at least understood, but their stubborn focus on the boondoggle that is consumer fuel cell hydrogen electric vehicles has harmed them tremendously, as well as not doing plug-in hybrids. Like literally, it adds a couple components. Yeah, and it makes your battery more expensive. But if you just use the existing battery, it just adds a couple components. Certainly don't want to count them out. Yeah, they've got so much money, it's not worth counting them out. But they are going to have to work very hard to stay among the leading car makers moving into the future. Absolutely. And they're going to need the NACs. Because if there's no place left to charge those cars, nobody's going to buy them. People who don't take road trips. Tesla is on track to hit 1.8 million deliveries by the end of the year, while Toyota is aiming for 1.6 million in 3 more years. By that time, Tesla will have widened its lead by far. Toyota continues wasting precious time and resources on inferior technology like fuel cells and hybrids, which only slow the automaker's transition even more. The Japanese automaker seems to be recognizing the urgency after falling behind early. Its multi-pathway strategy is distracting it from what is really important, developing and producing EVs. While Tesla's layers are focused on ramping production and its optimizing efficiency along the way, Toyota seems to be taking several pages from the EV maker's playbook while it continues investing in other technology. Not only will the strategy be costly in the end, but Toyota is far less likely to remain competitive with Tesla's with its Tesla finger in every pie. This goes back to the opinion piece where you can't have an EV division. You have to be all in on EVs. Fuel cells are EVs, but maybe at that point you could have a battery and fuel cell division, and your fuel cell can be a smaller division if you're smart. If it ends up working out, expand it. If it doesn't, you can shut it down and nobody will notice. Yep. So this one is a big musical thing. It's a tug of war, or it's a tug contest where this electric van is pulling a Class 8 semi and a fire truck and a couple other things. And it sets the new Guinness record of a tug test of 158.58 tons. Who are they? It's the Iveco E-Daily. And when I say tugs, watch this. It's not very fast. He's got his pedal to the floor, and it's doing that. It set the record, and it pulled a lot, but this is just for show, basically. It's not a practical. Featuring up to 3 37 kilowatt-hour packs, 111 kilowatt-hours in total, an electric motor with up to 188 horsepower, 140 kilowatts. Oh, that's tiny. 400 newton meters peak torque. The Iveco Daily offers the same performance as the diesel version, if not more. I wonder if you repeated this with any of the American EVs, the Lightning, the Chevy, the Hummer, the Model X, which we saw pull a jumbo jet, the Cybertruck. We know the Tesla Semi can do it because it's set up to do 80,000 pounds out of the 82,000 pounds out of the box. It's nice done. It gets your name out there. The towing record under his belt, the official towing capacity is 7716 pounds. Right, so we talked about Musk and full self-driving, and then going around the internet this week is a bunch of complaints about the way that Tesla prices FSD. You can pay $15,000 for FSD, and on trade-in, Tesla will give you $2,000 for it. What do you guys think about this? And you can't transfer it from car to car, even though it's not done yet. I've long advocated being able to transfer it at least a certain number of times, or at least until one transfer after they say it's ready. Even if you have to pay to transfer it, as long as the transfer fee is reasonable. There's nothing stopping them from being able to let you keep your license from car to car. Especially if it's a case of your car is totaled before FSD is ready. All they're doing is reducing loyalty sales by doing this policy. Especially as the price just keeps going up, which they promised it would when I bought mine, and it went down for a year. Y'all know where I stand on this. I've been saying it for years, and at least now they're starting to tell you that they did it. Like I did this, and I got my my Model X is worth a little bit more than a Model 3 of the same vintage performance Model 3 at that. And I got the same includes full self-driving verbiage on mine as well. And that's Canadian, so mine is actually worth less or slightly more than a Model 3. Wow. Anyway, what is so frustrating about this is Elon is always raving about how incredible FSD is and how most people don't understand its value, but Tesla itself heavily devalues it in used cars despite not delivering on its promises. I think most people know the solution to this other than giving a higher value, and that's letting owners transfer FSD from car to car. I would encourage Tesla owners with FSD to upgrade to new cars without feeling like they bought FSD for nothing. or barely anything on their previous vehicles. Or it would, not I would. It would. Uh, I don't understand why Tesla doesn't do that. It wouldn't be expensive, and it would help sales while creating some goodwill around FSD. Yeah, and if they charge us $2,000 transfer fee, $1,000 transfer fee, then that's not only have they now sold a new car that they might not have, uh, they still get an extra $2,000. And since the license is moved from the first car to the second car, they can still sell FSD again on the second car, whether they sell it or somebody else does. Da, 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 da. It would help sales while creating some goodwill around FSD. What do you think? Let us know in the comments section. Let us know in the comments right here. Lee says that's greed. The no transfer option sucks. Yeah, Lee and I probably both could have got another car by now. When times were good, if that had been an option. But there were times where they're like, hey, here's a good deal on a Plaid. Do you want it? I'm like, no, I'm gonna lose my internet. I'm gonna lose my supercharging. I'm gonna have one of 5 colors you have left, and I'm gonna have to pay $15,000 for FSD, which I do use. Let's see what that comment said. Top comment was, this is exactly why I haven't sold or traded my 2018 Model 3. Adding FSD to a new Tesla is half of what my car is worth in the open market. At this point, it's not worth upgrading, even though I want to, because of how little FSD is worth. Since they allow monthly subscriptions, people aren't looking for it in a used car. Exactly, because it's only 200. Well, 200 a month is a lot, but it's only that versus 15 grand. So you could have FSD for what, 4 or 7 years before it adds up. Let's see, 200 times 12, 2,400. For 6.25 years of subscriptions before they equal, assuming that they don't raise the price further and that they don't adjust the price of the subscription. 6.25 years before. I mean, at this point, yeah, I've kept my car about that long. It's on its 5th anniversary this year, but historically, my longest time keeping a car is 4 or 5 years. So it would make sense for me to rent FSD as well, rather than own it. Although if I had a robotaxi, I would definitely want to own it, because it would make my costs a little more levelized. Anyway, if FSD was able to follow me to a new car, I'd buy a brand new Y in a heartbeat. If Elon wants a killer end of quarter or year-end sales number, then offering to let current FSD customers transfer it to a brand new car would be a huge win for both Tesla and repeat owners. See, that would be a nice incentive besides just, oh, we'll give you 3 years of unlimited supercharging. Even if you don't give us your car, yeah, just turn off that unlimited on that other car, please. I've still more supercharged my car than regular charged it in usage. Let's see. I got the I have my Bluetooth range of the car. I got my module working again the other day. Trying to open a socket. I know. So either the car is off or I'm out of Bluetooth range. I mean, the car is off, but either it's like off because I don't have Sentry mode running right now. Elon should play with FSD transfer options like he does with the pricing. Yes, I'm sure he would see an increase in a short period of time. Absolutely. And then, they can then change the policy once it's fully ready. Say, hey, if your car is 2018 or older, this is your last transfer, or 20, whatever he's considering legacy on the current cars, and then whatever he's going to draw the line in the sand on the new 3 and Y and Palladium. Say, all right, you guys, all of you guys, this is your last transfer. Make it count. I think that would be fair. I mean, literally, this is equal, but it's not fair what they've done here. It's not breeding loyalty at all. All right, so we talked about Mercedes-Benz already. Did they have a take on this? That's really what I was after. Another domino has fallen. This is a net win for customers and electrification alike. Daimler's Mercedes-Benz. Oh, so if they're still part of Daimler, I wonder if that includes anybody else the same way that when Volvo announced that included Polestar, even though Polestar didn't announce until 2 days later. So Mercedes-Benz is the first German OEM to implement an export, and surely not the last. We'll offer an adapter, then native ports. Nothing new here. Just wanted to see their take in the comments. All right, so this is what I was talking about here. UK plug-in sales have reached 25% of the market share in June of 2023. So with Toyota doing 0.19% and the market doing 25%, that means that Toyota is performing below the market. Their investors have right to be concerned, and they should probably be a little more forceful with their concerns at this point than just kind of just, oh, please, sir, do the right thing. You should be forcefully making sure that your investment is is returning what it should be returning. 25%. BEVs are up 39% for a total of 17.9% market share. Plug-in hybrids are up 66% to 7.2%, and a total of 46% up to 25.1% market share. That's for the UK over the years. Continues to look good. Tesla begins layoffs at Giga Shanghai on the battery production line, and the consensus seems to be on this that they're going to be ramping up the battery lines at the other gigas, and also that the incorporation of automated equipment might be the reason behind the layoffs. I mean, Tesla's no stranger to the random 10% layoffs, so I hope that the families and the workers find other gainful employment soon, and I also hope that whatever this is a net positive for us in the end. Not much I can add to that because I can't speak to it. NHTSA is investigating unintended acceleration once again. This comes after a new petition that alleges that new information about a design flaw in the inverter. Let's see here. Because from what I understand about the way that the car behaves, even if it does start lurching forward, if it realizes it was uncommanded and it's not going downhill, it will blow the pyro fuse if it has to. And the NHTSA isn't doing anything wrong here. They're doing exactly what they have to do. They have to investigate all credible reports, even if they are ultimately confusion or baseless. The Office of Defects Investigation on June 29th started this. Covers 1.8 million vehicles in the US, including every Model S, Model X, Model 3, and Model Y sold in the country. Which is interesting because in order for there to be a flaw in the inverter, you would think they have the same inverter. They don't. The original Model S has a different inverter than the legacy Model S's and the Raven Model S's, and now the Palladium Model S's. Same for the Model X. And the Model 3 and Y have a completely different inverter than those generations of Model S and X. They do share inverters with the Palladiums. So let's see what they're talking about here. Interestingly, this reverses an earlier decision by the NHTSA to deny a call to further investigate into unintended acceleration Tesla EVs after complaints from customers in 2020. They received the original petition calling for an investigation into unintended acceleration, but the safety regulator denied it a year later because he didn't want to waste any resources on them. Witch hunt. The new petition has made the NHTSA change its mind was set by a Roland Belt of Plymouth. That is name, Roland Belt? Sounds like a product. of Plymouth, Minnesota, and it allegedly includes new information about the inverter design. According to Belt, whose petition was first reported on Auto Evolution, recent open source research has allowed a greater understanding of the component's function. Oh, if it's software, then that could affect all of them. Based on this, the petition claims that a design flaw in the inverter allows for intermittent higher electrical current to flow through the vehicle's 12-volt electrical system. The sudden additional voltage draw could be triggered by the demand for extra power from an accessory, preventing Tesla's diagnostics system to identify it as a fault. But again, the 3 and Y and palladiums have a different electrical architecture than all the old stuff, especially something that was on sale in 2020. That fault would explain some or all of the unintended acceleration reports reported by Tesla owners in the US, claims the petition. Pending the results of the investigation, it's worth noting that Belt's claims have been dismissed by some Tesla hackers who claim the inverter design cited in the petition is not similar to what Tesla uses. If even outsiders are saying that this is not possible, this will be an open and shut case for the NHTSA, because they have way more resources than these cool dudes like Jason Hughes and Mr. Green. Not me, Mr. Green, but Green the only. Jason Hughes, who's known for his work on Tesla battery packs and other hardware, said on Twitter that he doesn't believe that a drop in the 12-volt rail signal voltage could cause a calibration error, triggering an unintended acceleration event. He says that Tesla's accelerator pedal power, while derived from the 12-volt system, is using two independent, isolated 5-volt supplies. There's no way a fault in the system to create the correct signals for full acceleration. It's not possible. Somehow, the 12-volt system was so low it caused the isolated 5-volt supplies and their capacitors to drop below the expected voltages that sagged the entire curve of the dual sensors, leading to a pedal fault, not full acceleration. And I was in service mode the other day and noticed a couple pedal faults listed in my in my car. I don't think I have low voltage, but I think it was just the way I turned it on. It just didn't like the way the components came online, or my lithium 12 volts about to die. I don't know which. We'll find out. Green the only believes that the claim in the petition should be easy to verify if anyone who has a spare inverter controller PCB, or by anybody who has a spare inverter controller PCB. And that should be really easy for the government to obtain. The NHTSA's investigation will probably include that test and many more to verify if the claims of the petition are true. We'll keep you updated with results of the investigation, as will I. I don't know if that's sarcasm or what. Simple, ban the one pedal driving nonsense. No. What does one pedal driving have to do with any of it? I hope any electric hardware engineers read the actual study. It's just a bit over my head, but I think it has considerable merit due to the 1 and 2 pedal travel redundancy algorithm used. Certainly Tesla can test this corner case easily and just easily fix it if proven correct. They're certainly far too complicated for typical media judgment. All right, so we will open this in a new tab and skim it. The 3 huge red flags I noticed on theoretical was proposed. 1, it fails to account in any way for the brake pedal sensors not logging the pedal being depressed. Just because you don't want to go doesn't mean you're on the brake, though. You could be on cruise control. You could want to go a little bit in the parking lot. I wouldn't say the brake pedals have anything to do with it, except that if the brake pedal is pressed, and that's what they're alleging, is that the brake pedal is down and that the car is going, then yeah, that would be a problem. For several reasons. One, that the brake pedal is not just electric, but it's also analog. So if your foot is to the floor, then the hydraulic pressure is high enough that it can overpower the motors. However many of them you have. Inverter failure wouldn't keep the brakes from being applied, correct. It fails to account for the actual Tesla voltage logs not showing a dip in voltage. That. The author instead substitutes a graph of a General Motors vehicle suffering from low voltage, which is a huge red flag. Yeah. It fails to account for the fact that there are no gaps in the time clock record, time clock of recorded events from other components that share the same common voltage and are known to stop generating when voltage drops below 5. All right. Well, other than the brake thing, I'll give you that. And I'm guessing that since he called out the brakes and read the report, then maybe the report calls out the brakes. Hmm. It should be noted this exact same guy who brought the previous petitions that were disproven. He's just throwing darts on the board, hoping anything will stick. That is a good thing to know. If he's the same guy as all the others, up until the event with the Chinese, Tesla, and Chaozhou, Guangdong product fronts in November 2022, where the acceleration event lasted for more than 2.6 kilometers, killing 2 along with the runaway spree, I would have opted for pedal misapplication in the pretty much all the events that occurred up until then, except that that one was proven not to be the case either. That one was, I forgot what they said it was, but very most likely the person's foot was on the pedal. It wasn't the car. There's no way a driver ever misapplies the pedal for such a long stretch of driving. That's definitely possible. Every time you make something idiot-proof, they'll build a bigger idiot. What's that? Best Buy. Yeah, it's Best Buy. All right, let's see. Chinese owner of the car used to be a professional truck driver and was pronounced sober and mentally clear by the police after the event. Okay, but either way, you can pretty much disregard any news coming out of China outright unless completely non-government third-party entity from a different country not aligned with China does the investigation. Yeah. Chinese government has a literal, not figurative, monetary vested interest in driving down Tesla sales, as they literally, not figuratively, own several BEV manufacturers in direct competition with Tesla. Yeah. All right, so we'll see where that goes. Here's the petition. But for the same guy, we probably don't need to spend much time on it. Model 3 inverter design, blah, 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 2021. They denied a defect petition, alleging all 232 complaints were caused by pedal misapplication. Okay. Excuse me. And HTSA's analysis of the EDR data and our log data from 118 of the crashes showed the accelerator pedal was applied 85% or greater in 97% of the 118 sudden unintended acceleration crashes reviewed. And HTSA's response to the defect went on to state, the apps system used by Tesla vehicles has numerous design features to detect and respond to single-point electrical failures, including redundant position sensors, contactless inductive sensing technology, and independent power and ground connections to the sensors. And the sensor voltage curves differ by a fixed 2-to-1 ratio. All subject vehicles are equipped with the accelerated pedal assemblies with 2 different independent inductive sensors that convert the angular position of the pedal to a voltage signals. The pedal position can only be changed in response to an external force being applied, such as the driver's foot. In addition, the drive inverter main processor controls motor torque based on an accelerator pedal voltage. A separate processor, the pedal monitor, acts as a safety monitor, continually checking both apps and both app signals for faults and independently calculating motor torque. Any malfunction or deviation of the app's system results in a fault mode, cutting the torque to 0 for driver pedal applications or regenerative braking. In addition, the pedal monitor can shut off the drive inverter if the driver's commanded motor torque and actual motor torque do not match. Yeah, that's the first step before it even starts blowing pyro fuses. But like if you keep going and going and going, like cascading failure, it can blow the pyro fuse. Da, 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 da. Inverter design details. Da, da, da. Yeah, that's the inverter. Okay. And that's the Model Y inverter, not the Legacy. The Legacy is completely different shape and location. Here's a link to this stuff. Put it in the chat here. We'll go on to something less boring. Because we'll see what the government says. We'll see what else comes of it, what Tesla says. And we already see what the hackers say. They're saying it's not a thing. EV interest is an all-time high. Half of U.S. car buyers are eyeing plug-in models. The U.S. has jumped 5 spots to rank 7th in overall EV readiness. Ta-da! Is there a chart? No chart. Nissan to build 2 electric sedans at Mississippi plant from 2026. The EVs, one for Nissan and one for Infiniti, will reportedly enter production a year later than planned. All right, so these 2 vehicles are one vehicle, most likely, based on what we've seen from Nissan and Infiniti in the past. A cool, swoopy headlight. 2024 Rolls-Royce Spectre First Drive preview. Bittersweet Symphony. You can miss the 6.75-liter V12 all you want, but the electric Spectre is a glorious replacement. 9.6 out of 10. Pretty. All right, so if you guys want to read that, it's here. For me, but we're going to move on. The Tesla Model Y 7-seat price option has been sliced to $2,500. So now the difference between a 5-seat and 7-seat Model Y, just $2,500. Additionally, people who buy the crossover through a referral link can save an additional $500 and get 3 months of FSD beta. Pretty cool. Another article on the Nikola fires. We're going to keep on going because we spent some time on that already. Elon Musk and FSD 4 or 5. We'll keep going. Tesla will reportedly use Optimus Bot to boost sales. The humanoid bot will be on display to attract customers. Okay. Perfectly lit booths that act like pedestals for electric motors, inverters, and other components have been developed and produced in-house by Tesla. We believe the Optimus Bot will also get a spot in one of these glass booths, though Electrek doesn't mention details about where and how the bot has been put on display in China. Although, as we saw, if you go to that New York City store, it's already on display. Blazer SS delayed, sorry. Cybertruck spotted with rear light bar. I see the light bar, but I still only see 1 brake light, not 2. I really hope it has amber turn signals because I like amber turn signals, and the Model X has a really nifty way they do it. It's actually, so do the Model 3 and Model Y now. If it's a brake light, it's red, and if it's a turn signal, it flips color to amber. So I hope they keep that going forward on the Cybertruck. Every time individual spotted on the road, Cybertruck appears to have slightly different design revisions. Yeah. That's not a good sign because it means the design isn't locked down yet. Not necessarily. That's the whole point of like testing. You can have different vehicles to test different things. And then we just have to be catching older and newer prototypes testing different things. Not only that, this could just be an older prototype with the light bar. Who knows? Our vehicles got to go into production soon. Cybertruck certainly seems to have a lot of last-minute tweaks and trials going on. This is the same we saw with the Model X, the Model 3, and the Model Y. Up until like they started showing up in people's hands, they were still out testing them. Anyway, moving on. Volkswagen launches an autonomous test program in the US with the Volkswagen ID Buzz. This looks like the European model. Look how short the wheelbase appears. So it could be a photography quirk, or they brought the European van to the US. Initial test in geofenced area downtown East Austin. German carmaker's deal is to provide zero emissions autonomous ride-hailing services in the city from 2026. So everybody wants robotaxis. We see they're using a lot of LiDAR. Actually, this LiDAR doesn't look as bad as everybody else's. Look, it integrates pretty seamlessly with the vehicle on those ones in the corners. Well, wish them luck. Was bought powered by OpenAI. I don't think so, Dan, because remember, Elon is still super salty about what became of OpenAI after he was there, and then what happened further after he had to recuse himself because he thinks that Tesla AI will be enough of a competition that it would be a conflict of interest for him to have remained at OpenAI as well. So they're just going to use Tesla AI, and even if OpenAI didn't have a problem with them buying and using the services, I don't think that Elon would allow it. But that's not to say it won't work similarly, because he was there for both of them. ID Buzz vans always look short to me. Yeah, because sometimes they are. Are they the short wheelbase version that won't be sold in the US? Question mark. Good observation. I saw it too. These are the European spec vehicles, hence the short wheelbase. You're right. US will get the long wheelbase. They are. Hopefully VW reconsider this and bring production across the pond to US, to North America, and add the shorter wheelbase variant. A whole 10 cars. They're definitely late to the party. But it's a trial. I get it. Here's one that Dan brought to us. I've been looking forward to. Was it Dan or Omar? I think it was Dan. Stellantis reveals the STLA medium platform for C and D segments. The group might produce 2 million all-electric cars based on the STLA medium annually. And they got a video for us. We'll cut the music and I'll find what I told Dan. So all right, so the observations I made from this video are the charge ports in the correct place for them to make an announcement to NACS. I like the all-wheel drive option. I don't understand why make it front-wheel drive instead of rear-wheel drive if skipping a motor. Front-wheel drive isn't just them either. Several have done it. The only reason they did it with ICE, besides cheapness, is you get weight over the front wheels. If you don't get that weight with an EV, why not separate steering and propulsion if you don't do all-wheel drive? Looks like it won't have a frunk. And the OTA focus from here is great. Less incentive to continue to skip them like other legacies. Hello, Moto. You have strawberry on your face? Or did you fall? You massacred that strawberry. You got strawberry under your eye, all over your cheeks. Are you sleepy yet? Yeah, you're sleepy. Yeah, me. Aw. All right, next up. Target segments C and D, body type, passenger cars, crossovers, and SUVs. Multiple brands, up to 2 million units annually. A wheelbase of 2,700 to 2,900 millimeters. So 2.7 to 2.9 meters. Overall length is 4.3 to 4.9 meters. Ground clearance of more than 220 millimeters to ensure off-road capability and performance. So they're making more of them small SUVs for you, Eddie. Wheels up to 750 millimeters in diameter, a key attribute for platform design. So they want this thing to have big, beautiful wheels. The two configurations are front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. The power output will range from 160 to 285 kilowatts. with a front-wheel drive single motor or an all-wheel drive dual motor, one front, one rear, with a peak power output of 160 to 185 kilowatts, depending on the version. BEV platforms would usually utilize a family of 3 scalable electric drive modules. Range, they expect to have a driving range of more than 435 miles or 700 kilometers using the WLTP. Standard pack will have more than 310 miles WLTP, and the performance pack will have 435 miles WLTP, up to 98 kilowatt hours of usable battery capacity. As we understand, the smaller battery will be around 70 kilowatt hours of usable capacity, calculated proportionally to the range. Fair enough. Stellantis uses 800-volt systems only in some of its BEVs, based on the STLA Large and STLA Frame. But I do believe they said it was a 400 volt system in the video. I wasn't watching it when I was looking for my notes. Very interesting is its fast charging capability, which, according to the company, will allow recharging the battery from 20 to 80% in 27 minutes. That's average. It's not as fast as in the case of some of the fastest charging mainstream models, but it's not the slowest either. Stellantis also revealed that the charging rate will be 2.4 kilowatt hours per minute. If we recalculate it to power, it should be 144 kilowatt, which is acceptable. Potentially, that's the average after, rather than the peak. Nothing special, but probably acceptable for average mainstream models. Yes, that not making this some blazing trail setter will keep the cost down. 64.8 kilowatt hours, assuming the flat rate over 27 minutes. And that's enough to keep going. To keep things simple, the perimeter dimensions of the battery pack are constant, regardless of the battery version, with common tray and cooling designs. And with a common tray and all that, they might be able to do battery swap. I'm not saying that battery swap is important to have, but having it as an option is always kind of cool. But as we discussed earlier in the show, the economics aren't there to keep it. But I did like the way that Tesla did it, where you get to come back and get your original battery pack. Elon has AI himself, a large language model. Will those bots give side eye like the other one are on this humor? That's an interesting question. Huh. I bet he would go for it to be have a humorous side, at least as an option. Maximum humor, uh, whatever they call the slow mode, where it would just be like all business. All right, so that's enough of this platform. We expect to see it in the next couple of years. Oh wait, what's this? Stellantis continues to evaluate Tesla Next charging standard. No decision made yet. That was June 14th. Okay, so that's the one we already knew about. All right. So back on the delivery van, but let's bring it stateside. Amazon now has over 5,000 EDVs making deliveries across the U.S. They still plan to have 100,000 of them by 2030. They deployed 3,000 at the end of March that serve 500 cities and regions in the U.S. So in 3 months, it's almost doubled the fleet, is now using zero-emission vehicles made in Normal, Illinois to make deliveries in more than 800 cities in the country. Yeah, when my FSD decided to drive me past the plant, I got a nice little eyeful. It's pretty cool. I think I still got the footage on my dash cam. I need to go retrieve it. But I've got enough videos I owe you guys, so I'll just leave that there for now. Norway plug-in sales have exceeded 90% in June of 2023. So we were talking about the UK. Look at Norway. 90%. Now, Norway is a special case, and they've been leading this for a long time now. But 0.19% Toyota versus 90% for the market. So you are over 89% behind the market, Toyota. Get with the program. Every fourth car in Norway this year was a Tesla. Wow. So 90% of them are EVs, and of them, no, of all the cars, so 25% of them were Teslas. That's incredible. 15,566 passenger cars registered in Norway, which is 4.5% more than a year ago. And the number to date remains 66,549, which is in the red, down 2.9% year over year. I think they had a reduction in incentives, if I'm not mistaken, plus whatever's going on with the global economy right now. So that makes sense. Let's see. All electric segment. Meanwhile, plug-in hybrids without generous tax incentives are consistently decreasing year over year for the 18 months. Last month, PHEV volume decreased 19% to 1,354. Stats for the month of only passenger cars. BEVs are up 9% to 82.2% market share. PHEVs are down 19% to 8.7% market share. And the total is up 6% to 90.9% of the market share. So I told you guys the anecdote about the guys who were driving their cars to mainland Europe to sell their used cars, and then either coming back by train or plane and picking up their EV, just so they didn't have that drop in value. And you can see why they had a drop in value at 90% of all new cars being a plug-in. So Model Y remains the absolute best-selling car in Norway, 33,127 units at 20.1% of the market share. And so the rest would be Model 3s, right, for the 25%. Almost 1 in 4 passenger car registrations so far this year was a Model Y. Second most popular model in June was the ID4, followed by the Skoda Enyaq iV. And it's worth noting that 3 MEB-based crossovers, Volkswagen ID4, Audi Q4 e-tron, and the Skoda Enyaq, noted together 7,732 registrations in the first half of this year. That's barely half of the volume of the Model Y. Wow. And now we see why they shut the plant down for an extra week. Or 2, depending on what part of the plant we're looking at the Volkswagen factory. Not all Tesla models are selling so well, though. For example, Tesla Model 3 noted just 288 units in June. Wow, for 1,242 units year to date. See, Eddie, this is why the SUV styling is so popular, because the SUV form factor is so popular. But you're right. With so many options to choose from, they don't all have to look the same. You can do that format and make it feel good for the customer while making it look different than what we looked at in the picture, where if you weren't familiar with the model, they all looked exactly the same. Bennett says, curious about FSD beta progress in Norway. Anytime soon. Would have an interesting situation for rolling it out. There was an article I skipped this week about Tesla hiring temporary workers for 3-month stints, at-will employees, to do FSD beta testing. I didn't look at the list of cities. Most of them I saw were in the US, but I didn't verify that they were all in the US. And we've seen that they had drivers in the past, not temporary employees, but I would imagine that that they've either continued that or ramped it up even higher. So soon, because the way that Europe is doing it, they need to show them it's safe first. And there's only 2 ways to do that. You can point to us and say, yeah, we did it, or you can show them your test fleet and say, hey, they did it in your country. It's good. I guess the other way you can do it is just put in one feature at a time. But as we saw with auto steer, that they rolled that way back to the point where the car can't even take a highway turn over there. We need to build more onshore and offshore wind to keep powering that fast EV fleet. They can't keep depending on hydropower since there are not many places to build more, and droughts have reduced output over the years. Doesn't Norway, like Iceland, also have geothermal? Average driving distance in Norway is 11,000 kilometers per year, and they have 2.9 million cars on the road. If the average EV uses 2 kilowatt hours, I would think they would use more than that. Oh, 2 kilowatt hours per 10 kilometers. It adds up to 6.5 terawatt hours. That's a bit meh on the Nordic synchronous area. However, it all adds up. The latest long-term market analysis by this group Norway's TSO shows an increase from today's 110 terawatt hours to 190 to 300 terawatt hours in 4 scenarios they set up, or in all 4 scenarios they set up. Okay. It says I'm actually from Sweden, though. But Norwegian and Swedish is rather similar. That's a good question for Anders. How are things looking over there for your guys' electric keeping up? I know that they're freaking out about it here, but we can do it. Uh, we can't do it overnight, but the good thing is we're not going to flip the fleet overnight either. They charge at night how much of the generation capacity is unused at night. So one would subtract that from the total increase needed. Boom. Yeah, because everybody's not plugging in at the same time all the time. All right, so Motor One caught this Peugeot partner facelift, spotted as a cargo electric van with minor tweaks. So this electric van that's already been going on in Europe, the Peugeot, is getting a little update, make it look a little prettier, hopefully, or at the very least to make yours feel old so that you buy a new one, which is their ultimate goal. That, and they might also be going for some aerodynamics, but I doubt it. Right. So, in addition to the incentives we saw for buying a Model 3 or Model Y, and the reduction in price to the rear seat on the Model Y for the 7 seats, Tesla's extended the $1,000 off 3 months of free FSD referral program indefinitely. That doesn't mean it won't end. It just means we don't know when it will end because it was originally going to end on June 30th. Andrew said, I heard my name doing something else while listening. What did you want to know? So these guys were talking about Norway's electric grid and whether it would handle the EVs they've got or handle a total switchover. And ultimately, they're going to need um, another couple hundred terawatt hours of power. However, one of the individuals in the conversation pointed out that they would need to also subtract the nighttime charging from that. And so then I said that here in the States, we should be fine because we're not going to flip the fleet overnight. And that gives us time to ramp up our capacity. And then I asked, how is your country looking as far as their readiness for a total EV fleet? And then one thing I think we should also look at is if you guys do your own refining locally, how much of that electric for the refining of liquid fuels is coming out of the grid, so we can take that out as well once you go full EV. The problem with that though is a lot of the electric from a refinery is generated on site by burning the raw fuel in a generator. I'm just curious how ready you guys are for all EV. So we talked about, yeah, I told you this was all over this week. Tesla undervaluing FSD. I don't need to beat that up. And then I've got some more in the phone, but um, I didn't get to it all again this week. Let's see. So we talked about the Optimus bot. We determined that it wouldn't be OpenAI, most likely. Would not. Um, I think we had a blast this week. So I need to go back and read about the Rolls-Royce Spectre. The Norway plugin sales were awesome. What else do I have here? All of these are non-related to what we're talking about. I've got like 15 tabs of other stories. They're not related. I want to thank all of our channel members, patrons, such as Anders there for, what did you say, 17 months? And okay, got a message. Proponents say it won't be a problem. And those who don't like electric cars say that we won't be able to charge all electric cars at the same time. So the same nonsense they're telling us about, oh no, what if everybody comes home and plugs in together? Despite the fact that nobody's ever on the same schedule. like Super Bowl or Eurovision or whatever else. Like that's as close as we get, and it still hasn't been a problem. Um, I still think that if we can handle our air conditioners, we can handle electric cars because air conditioners came on pretty fast worldwide, and especially here in the states, and it didn't destroy the grid. It surely put a strain on it, but I say it didn't destroy the grid. But then we look at Texas, the AC and the heat really put a strain on Texas this year, and then it puts fires in California regularly. But that's a maintenance issue, not that the grid can't handle it. It's people putting the money in executive pockets instead of into the infrastructure. Yep. So thank you for that, Anders. And like I said, thank you for your channel membership and as well as everyone else's. And we will catch you on the flip side. See you next week. Thank you. Oh, Bennett says that Texas destroyed the Texas grid. Yes, they did. But Texas did it by not investing back in themselves. You have to put it back into into you have operating expenses, OpEx. Um, Sonic Geek says all at one time. Didn't gas run out not too long ago over a computer hack? Exactly. We ran out of gas because of a computer hack, as well as then again in Texas, where the natural gas lines, the methane gas lines, froze, and even then, like look at me, like I work from home now, and yeah, my car's always plugged in, but it's not always charging. I think it charges like 3 times a week if I don't go anywhere, and then I can control when it plugs in. Breakneck Trent says, "Damn good show. Thank you." Andrew says, "Bye." Yes. Lee says, "I concur." Hey, if you guys have any anything you'd like to see different on the show, like if you have any stories you want me to cover, pop them in, or if you have like anything we should like a segment we should do, let me know and I'd see if we can go ahead and include that. I think it might be fun. Maybe get some more of you guys on here, like we have Omar and Dan and everybody as well. Maybe even just as a guest sort of situation. All right. You guys know where I am on Twitter. If you have me on Facebook, you got me there. And I read your messages. Link up with Prasad. If you can facilitate an introduction, that might be fun. Thank you very much. All right, let me go see what this baby is crying about, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Preparing when your warranty ends. My warranty's gone, baby. If you drop that in the chat, the other chat that we have, I will write something about it, and we'll talk about it. Thanks.